Called meeting to order for the Planning Commission regular session for Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. Secretary, please call the roll.
Nadelman. Here. Franze.
Here.
McGurran.
Here.
Belzer. Here. Block.
Here.
Stevens.
Absent.
Carlberg.
Here.
Fishman. Here. Coleman.
Here. We do have a quorum. Any changes to tonight's agenda? Okay. Can I get approval?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block.
I move for approval of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Block. Second, Commissioner Carlberg. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The agenda is approved. We have 3 sets of minutes to review this evening. We'll take September 9th, Planning Commission regular session. Are there any changes or amendments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would ask the staff to go back and look at my comments on page 10. There's a portion missing from what I had said, so if you can complete that accordingly, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner McGurran. Any other revisions? No?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block?
I move for approval of the meeting minutes from the regular session September 9th with Commissioner McGurran's comments included.
Thank you. Second, Commissioner Belzer. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from Tuesday, September 9, 2025, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Meeting minutes are approved. Brings us up to the second set of minutes for September 30th, 2025, regular meeting. Any revisions to this set of minutes?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block?
I move for approval of the September 30th, 2025 Planning Commission regular meeting minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Block. Second, Commissioner Nadelman. All in favor of approving the minutes for September 30th, 2025, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Meeting minutes are approved. Brings us up to the third set of minutes for the work session on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. Any revisions from the commission?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block.
my comment on page 5, third comment at the top there, storage is stored. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but I don't think that's accurate. If someone could look at that, please. And then the other, on page 9, again, my quote there, I think reflection at the end of that sentence should have been recollection. And that's all I have.
Any other revisions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block.
I move for approval of the work session meeting minutes from October 14, 2025.
Thank you, Commissioner Block.
Second.
Second,
As
Commissioner
amended.
Belzer.
As amended, sorry.
As amended.
Still second.
Thank you, Commissioner Belzer. All in favor of approving the minutes for October 14th, 2025, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The meeting minutes for the work session on October 14th are approved. That brings us up to, well, before we get to the consent agenda, one case has been continued to November 25th, 2025. That's case 4725, Chadwick Place, Villas of Chadwick. That brings us up to our consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda, case 112-25, Hope Community Church Lighting Plan, request for approval of a revised final development plan located north of 83rd Street and west of State Line Road. Are there any commissioners that would like to pull this from the consent agenda? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block.
I move for approval of tonight's consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Block.
Second.
Second, Commissioner McGurran. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Consent agenda is approved. That brings us up to old business. Commission calls case 7225, Mission West Mixed Use. Request for approval of a rezoning from SDO, Planned Office District, to MXD4, Mixed Use District, 4-story maximum. preliminary development plan and preliminary plat located north of 135th Street and west of Mission Road. Ms. Ewing? Oh, you're already up there.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, please continue.
Cameron Ewing, Planner 2. This is case 72-25, Mission West MXD, request for approval of a rezoning from SDO to MXD4, preliminary development plan and preliminary plat, located north of 135th Street and west of Mission Road. This application, actually, let me backpedal. Before I get to that, there is paper on the dais, a packet for you. These were 5 letters from the public comment that we did receive this afternoon. So we made sure to print those off for you guys so you have a copy, and those have been uploaded to the online agenda packet as well. So this application was initially heard by the Planning Commission at the September 30th, 2025 meeting. The Planning Commission voted 8-0 to continue this project to a future date to allow the applicant to revise the proposed plan. Since the continuation of this project, the applicant has made changes to the plan to better meet the goals, policies, and objectives of the 135th Street Community Plan and the Leawood Comprehensive Plan by increasing restaurant patios for outdoor dining, expanding open space / green space, and programming of pedestrian amenity areas. To further enhance the pedestrian connectivity and walkability, the applicant is proposing the removal of one drive-through along 135th Street. So this project is proposing a total of 471,000 square feet approximately on 22.6 acres for an FAR of 0.25 with a 55% residential discount, 326 residential units, and a residential density of 14.4 dwelling units per acre. So the applicant is requesting an FAR discount of 55% and a FAR deviation for underground parking structures as well. The applicant is requesting to deviate from the residential parking requirement of 2 spaces per residential unit with 1 totally enclosed, and is proposing a ratio of 1.5 parking spaces per residential unit and still meeting that 1 totally enclosed. Final elevations, landscape plan, lighting plans, and design guidelines for the overall development are not reviewed at this time and will be reviewed at the time of the final development plan. The applicant would be responsible for impact fees. That would be the 135th Street Corridor Impact Fee, Park Impact Fee, and Public Art Impact Fee. And those fee amounts will be determined at the time of final development plan. The applicant did hold their Interact meeting on August 11th. That attendance and sign-in sheet has been included in your packet. And since this application is requesting approval of a rezoning and preliminary development plan, staff has reviewed the application with respect to the golden factors. All criteria have been evaluated and the analysis has been included in your report. And so with that, staff does recommend approval of this application with the 30 stipulations listed in the staff report. And I can answer questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ewing. Questions for staff? Mr. Block.
Cameron, can you tell us a little bit more, help me better understand? You know, I think you recommended denial at the last meeting. So I know you talked about the drive-through and stuff, but can you help me maybe just even better understand how you feel like you were able to change that recommendation, please?
Yeah. So the applicant did request to meet with staff after the last Planning Commission meeting. So we sat down with the applicant and kind of repeated some of the comments that we had heard from our commissioners. We had come to the understanding that amenity spaces need to be improved. There might be some issues due to the amount of drive-throughs on the lot. That was something we heard as well. So we just made sure to reiterate those points and came to the conclusion with the applicant that the pedestrian amenity areas can be programmed more, have a little bit more detail to it at this point that would draw residents and other people to that area and activate that destination street. We do believe that those additions will help prompt more pedestrian activity along that street. And overall, the development as well has shrunk in square footage just a little bit. There's been some readjustments as well, but after reviewing the proposed site plan, staff does feel comfortable with what the applicant is proposing.
If I could. And so I think, I think you say that in your staff comments, you feel that it more closely reflects the desires or the intention of the 135th Street Community Plan. And I only ask because I think the page before that, the bottom of page 11, I don't know if that was just maybe incorrectly carried over from the last case, but it says that it lacks some elements. So I guess I just want to make sure that that's consistent if that's.
Yes, that was supposed to be removed. I do apologize.
That's okay. So that's just, I guess, for everyone's, this is subsection 8 on page 11.
Okay, thank you.
So that, just to clarify, then that should more mirror what the staff recommendation is on the next
Yes,
page.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Carberg.
On the drive-throughs, how many were there originally and how many are there now?
So there was originally 4 in the previous proposed plan, and now it would be 3.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Belzer.
Cameron, on page 9, it refers to a couple of requested deviations. The parking structures is the first one, and it says staff is supportive of this deviation request. Then on the second one, the deviation to residential parking requirement, it doesn't indicate that staff is, specifically that staff is supportive of this deviation. So I just wanted to make sure that.
Yes, we would be supportive of this deviation. That should have been carried over as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Fishman.
Pardon me, Cameron. I count 8 pad site buildings on this plan. I acknowledge that one of the drive-throughs has been eliminated. Were any of the pad sites eliminated?
No, there would still be 10 buildings overall.
So there's the same number of pad sites now as there were on the previous application. The only difference being that one of them now, one of them then was a pad site, and now it is not. Correct?
With the previous plan, building C actually had a drive-through attached as part of that building. With this reiteration, that drive-through was removed and extra green space was added.
I don't know what I just said, but that's what I meant. So thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, I had a couple for you, Ms. Ewing. So just to confirm, Commissioner Carberger, we had 4 drive-throughs and only down to 3. But we
Yes,
still have the 3.
yes.
Okay. You know, I was driving down there last week and I looked at it, and the topography for the site seems a lot higher than the street and for the Mission Trail ball fields there. Is that the case from what you?
I would
From your
actually
analysis?
have the applicant respond to that question.
Okay.
They would be better to answer that.
Okay. In addition, I know the Interact meeting requirements, they only go up to homeowners, correct, in the area?
Property owners and HOAs.
Okay. What about the school? Is the Blue Valley School District, did they get a notice or anything?
So USD, Unified District 229, I believe, they are a listed property owner, so they were included in that mailing notification.
Okay. Did you get any feedback from them in regards to the proposal?
No, up until today, these were the first comments from the public that we did receive.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the staff?
A follow-up question?
No, please, Commissioner Balzer.
I was thinking as I was reading through that this is a new or a revised proposal. Does that require a new Interact meeting to present to the neighbors and the radius what the changes are?
So typically, staff will review the proposed changes and see how major or how minor these changes have been. If they are relatively minimal, we let the applicant hold another Interact meeting if they would like, but it is not a requirement.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner McGurran.
If the enhancements or changes were minimal, do you have what you would consider to be a visual, photographic representation of before and after that is the significant portion of it? Or is it all so minor that it's not that visible?
Let me see. Mr. Pelger, if we can pull up the PowerPoint real quick. Thank you. So this is an exhibit. This is visually the biggest difference on the site is the removal of that drive-through that is connected to Building C. Besides adding a little bit more of the details to that courtyard and green space area that's centrally located by the roundabout, this was the biggest change identified.
So, thinking back on all the conversation from the last session, is it fair to say that there was no change to parking within the structure?
Yes, so parking has been adjusted slightly in this area to kind of make up for that drive-through being removed, but the parking that is on the north side of the site for residential, that is staying the same.
No change to parking entrances for all of the homeowners, if you will, that live or that park underneath their apartment.
Yeah, no, those have
coming in from 133rd. No change
no
there.
changes.
No change with any of the streets when it came to the possibility of being blocked off for pedestrian use and or available to do that?
No.
Was there anything else that staff had asked for in the post conversation that didn't happen that is still kind of a desire?
I think at this point, this is a preliminary development plan, so the final details are really what we are going to want to hone in on and ensure that those are very thorough and those are located throughout the site, but those are final development plan details.
And lastly, just to follow up on a previous question and or comment regarding the notification to the school system. Do we have any idea what the school did with that documentation? Did they dispense anything to their students, parents, any communication that we're aware of that went out?
I would not be aware of any communication that the school district sent out. I am aware that the applicant did send it to the school district. We do have that notification letter, but after that, I am not positive on what happened.
For those that have been around for a while, is that typical that a school would do nothing, or is it unusual that a school would do no communication?
It's been my experience when the school district has been notified of a project, I think they just kind of will internally take a look at it and evaluate for their numbers. As far as I'm aware, I am not aware of any school district disseminating that information among parents and staff members. I've, notified school districts when I worked at the county and, other projects with Leawood, with other jurisdictions I've worked in. That's been my personal experience when school districts get those notifications. But just like any other property owner, they are notified.
Okay, thank you very much. That's helpful.
Yeah, and Blue Valley School District does have an analyst on staff specifically that looks at demographics and population numbers and looks at new projects that are being proposed within their boundaries. And there's a person that specifically takes a look at those numbers and how they're influencing their attendance areas for schools. So I'm not aware of them ever actually contacting the city of Leawood based on any project that they get, but I do know that they absolutely do take a look at these notices that they get and factor that into their attendance numbers for their schools that would be affected.
I would think there'd be at least two ways to look at that. They'd be thrilled with additional residents and students that could possibly be in their school system. They'd be thrilled with the increase in the tax base that funnels, half of that money to them. On the flip side, when it's right next door to their school, I would think that there'd be some conversation about school children's safety and the connection and the width of the street and whether they're comfortable with what they see. And we basically just didn't hear anything.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything. I know that in general, school districts, if they have a concern, they're vocal about it. But yeah, we did not hear anything from Blue Valley on this one.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Going on Commissioner McGurran's request for the before and after, do you have the current one for the 132nd Street, the north side?
I can pull up something. I don't believe we have that in the packet, actually.
Okay, then if you could drill down then on that street, what kind of buffer is there between the apartment buildings and the street there, as Ms. Kirks goes to put that up?
Is this elevation kind of what you're looking at, the cross-section elevation here?
I was actually looking at if there's a way you can move it down so we could,
To the school.
there you go. Okay, so the school's on the left. So my question is, the apartment buildings, which I think are labeled as, are they K2, J2? I can't even read that. The ones in yellow that are on 133rd Street, how much of a buffer is there between 133rd Street and the actual buildings?
Between 133rd and the apartment building,
Yes.
I believe it's approximately 60 feet.
Okay, 60 feet from the building to the edge of 133rd Street.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Fishman.
Thank you. Pardon me, Cameron. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember that one of the objections of the staff to the last application was a lack of walkability between the two uses, the apartments and the pad sites, and also the shortage of green space. And I'm wondering whether or not there was any change in the plan to enhance walkability so as to eliminate the staff's concern with respect to that element.
Yeah, so the applicant did, with the revised plans, expand some of the outdoor patio areas for dining, expanded the programming of that central green space and courtyard area, There was an addition of green space at the southwest corner with the reduction of that drive-through. So all of that combined, staff did believe that that's going to potentially draw more pedestrians to that area, especially having that outdoor dining experience that will definitely help promote. But all of those combined, staff did believe that that would be a encouraged benefit.
One of the things that we talked about when we met with them after the last planning commission meeting was really increasing the programmed amenities in that green space around the roundabout in the middle. Before, if you'll recall, it was pretty much just kind of open green space. And so we talked about making that really usable, having it be patio areas with seating and trellises, and just really encouraging folks to walk through there and congregate and sit. And so really using that as kind of that connecting pedestrian piece between the residential portion and the commercial portion. And so there is a rendering in your packet of the changes that they made to that area. I'm not sure what page number it is, but it's the kind of...
We can pull the PowerPoint up again.
Is it? Oh, you got it. Yeah.
It's this one.
So this is
Yeah.
the rendering of that central green space area.
Yeah, so this one cuts it off just a little bit, that patio area with the seating. They added all of that seating and patio space, the trellises around there. Again, just really making that a much more attractive place and easily walkable for people going between the different sections of the development.
Thank you. One other question. I note on the plan that building E, is shown as a double drive-through. Was that building shown as a double drive-through on the previous plan?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fishman. Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Ms. Ewing. Seeing none, I will invite the applicant to come forward.
Good evening, everybody. Last time I had a lovely render to put in front of you guys as I talked through everything, so I figured we'd do it again with some updates. Let's get this set up here. I think I can just back out of this. All right, that'll do. Thank you. All right. Hello again. Patrick Reuter with Clover Architects, address 8813 Penrose Lane, Suite 400, Lenexa, Kansas. Here on behalf of Odo Development, we have Rick and Courtney Odo with us. Also on our team tonight is Curtis Holland with Polsinelli, Dan Foster with Schlegel, and then our traffic engineer, Kristen, is online as well on the Zoom. Definitely appreciate staff kind of going through all the updates here. I'll probably keep it pretty short and sweet since I think they did a very good job kind of outlining what we updated here. As we discussed last time, as you guys all know, when we start any development, we look at the master plan for the area, which has been in place in this and kind of shown the mixed use development for over 22 years. And then we start looking at, what plans have been approved in the area and look at how we can improve those. So like staff mentioned, we met with them, heard all your guys' comments on walkability, uses, and worked with them, had a sit-down meeting, went through everything, and made those plan improvements like they discussed. So we feel that with the updated roundabout, with the 2 large green spaces on either side now programmed, the updated trellises there, those connections now only having one across from either the retail to the roundabout or the residential to the roundabout amenity areas was a big improvement. And then obviously removing that drive-through that we had at that southwest corner, and then integrating those, privately scaled park areas between those two buildings with those moves. And then just overall improvements, I think, just with keeping that car traffic situated at the main entry points to the site, so that way pedestrian traffic is least impacted by those drive-throughs as they remain there today. I know that we got a lot of, or I think 4 or 5 last-minute letters. I think some of it we got while I was sitting in here waiting for the meeting to start. I think a lot of it that we saw was in relation to the school and traffic concerns. I think we discussed this last time I was up here, but the traffic for this, while we do have some code-required access points to 133rd Street, that our traffic report shows that I think it's about 90% of that traffic generated by the development is going south to 135th Street. I think there was a question on the buffer between our building and the street. I think it is about 60 feet from building to property line. I don't have a scale on me. So that's property line, so another about 15 feet, so probably closer to 70, maybe 80 feet from actually building to curb. So we do have a pretty significant green space setback on that north side of our development as well. As staff noted, there's only a couple of different areas that we really made a bunch of updates to. Again, it's pretty much localized to the buildings along the southwest, but just only having the drive-through on that eastern building on that west side, and then sticking these two buildings closer together with a program green space in between. I think we talked about last time overall building size. We did keep buildings overall smaller and separate just because those are easier to build and to lease. So we did keep that component of it so it would remain a viable project. And then, again, really focusing on those pedestrian amenities, resident amenities, any other users of the site, whether it be the retail, the restaurant, increasing what can happen in that roundabout area, the trellises. And then in the 2 restaurant spaces within our mixed-use buildings, we also did pull those back from that intersection a little bit, both east and west, to allow for more patio space and more green space between those patio spaces, those restaurant, and any drives there. So this plan is just showing that comparison. And I'll just flip through a few renderings that we updated. I think this is the one that staff had shown, which is kind of that lower down view that gives you a better idea of what's happening in that roundabout, as well as the buildings still remain pretty similar. You can see that proximity of the trellis to the restaurant and restaurant patio space. So it's pretty close there. And then with that, I'll just remind everybody that we are still meeting all the LDO requirements. In compliance with the 135th Street Community Plan. We appreciate working with staff and getting their approval. Again, still think that the proposed development is complementary to the overall site configuration and massing. The use is oriented and similar to what was approved at Oxford Promenade, with having a lot of all the buildings around the periphery and parking internal for what the 135th Street Community Plan calls for. And lastly, we feel like we approve on that with all our excess green space, ponds, amenity spaces that are now even more active above and beyond the LDO requirements in the 135th Street Community Plan. And with that, happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. Question, Commissioner Carlberg.
When you talked about program, I heard walkability and program kind of used as complementary things. Just tell me what programming is.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different components to it. I mean, obviously right now this is a preliminary plan, and so as we get additional users and actually identify who's going to be in all these different restaurant, retail spaces, all that program kind of can change, right? And that could be what events get hosted out there in those plaza areas. Could it be art fairs, music festivals, like smaller ones, obviously they're not, massive acres of green space here because it is all distributed. But it's, food trucks, et cetera, stuff like that that could work with, ideally with the, retailers or restaurateurs that are there. And then obviously the apartments also have, different amenity spaces that we talked about last time. But we've had projects too where apartments will go out and have events with the residents in the park spaces for all sorts of different things around holidays, et cetera, as well.
Additional questions for the applicant? Commissioner Belzer.
Patrick, do you have a picture that you can put up for the original roundabout so we can compare to what you're currently proposing?
I think I did save some old slides back here, so maybe. somewhere. No, we updated all of them. I do not in this presentation. I think we did update all of our images. I don't know if you guys have a previous.
Maybe you can just
Sorry.
put that slide back up and point out to us specifically where the green space expanded.
Yeah, I can.
That was a big-
Oh, you know what? I remember that last time I had to use a laser
Yeah,
pointer.
what was there before and what is there now?
Okay, sorry. Last time I tried this with the mouse and did not realize that you guys couldn't see it. So I got laser pointer now. So a couple different areas. So one would be on either side of the mixed use buildings. We still have that restaurant space in each building here and here. So we pulled that back kind of further into those mixed use buildings by I think about 10 or 15 feet. So we gained additional patio area and green space on either side there. The overall roundabout configuration did not change, but we did update what actually happens in all of these parks. And so some green space was picked up there as well. And then, like we mentioned, we updated that from just being kind of what was just open lawn previously to adding that trellis with seating around it and increasing kind of that plaza area that can be there, along with the parks on either side, increasing those seating areas and activity zones in that area too.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, then we didn't really grow in green space specifically. We grew in activation of the current space that was there, and uses and programming.
I think it's a little bit of both, but yes. There was additional green space that was added. I mean, our overall square footage of the development only changed minimally. So the overall open space did go up slightly. Open space is inclusive of both green and, plazas, amenities. So it did overall increase. I couldn't tell you the difference between the two, what's grass and what's pavement. We don't usually get into those calculations.
Okay.
Commissioner Nadelman.
I have a couple questions about the detention basins.
Huh?
You moved the buildings closer together. Does that mean the basins got bigger?
So we did not change any of the buildings for the residential and the mixed use piece of it. Those remained where they were. What we did is we took the restaurant pieces and shifted them into the buildings without moving the actual buildings themselves. So it really just came down to kind of making a more efficient space between the commercial and residential in that building, but the overall footprint and setbacks did not change between the last plan and this plan. So those retention ponds, which will have water in them and fountains, remain unchanged, and because the overall square footage of the development remained wholly similar and the overall parking remained wholly similar, they did not need to be updated for this.
Okay. About how long, lengthwise would each retention pond be?
Oh man, that's a great question. Let me go to this plan and see if I can try and deduce some measurements here. See if you guys can see this. Okay, so I just go off parking because from one stall and back of one stall to the back of another stall is 60 feet. So we probably on this west side have probably about 120 feet on average. It's probably about 140 feet end to end there, and probably closer to maybe 80 feet on the north. And then on the east side, you're probably looking at about 75 to 80 feet. But I'm going off proximities here, so give me plus or minus 10 feet.
I know one of the comments that was made at the last meeting had to do with safety.
Right.
Of retention ponds. Have you discussed any ways in terms of sloping, or what can you do on your end to make it safer?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And we actually did talk about that with staff as well, because I think there was a comment about maybe like adding a fence or something, which we typically wouldn't do around retention ponds. Typically they are designed, like you mentioned, with the sloping requirements. Usually it's like a 3-to-1 slope max, which is required for safety. And so we meet all those requirements.
Okay. And last comment, in the future, I would love to see more of a visual with the retention pond, because I can visualize a really cool retention pond and I can visualize an eyesore. So it helps me to, have what it would actually potentially look like.
We will definitely work on that when we get to final. I promise it will be the former, which is the
cool.
prettier, the retention ponds
Thank
with
you.
fountains.
Thank you.
I know you've probably seen a lot of Rick Oda's developments. He does not build ugly ponds. So
Commissioner McGurn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you wouldn't mind, could you put that picture back up?
Yes. It is up on my screen. I don't know
Perfect.
how that controls. So.
Perfect. Okay, so my question about the ponds is slightly different, but still about safety. Remind us of the maximum depth within the water on either of those ponds.
Oh man, might need to look at my civil engineer for this one. I thought it was 5 to 6 feet. Yes, he gave
5
me a
or
head
6
nod,
feet?
so I'm gonna say 5 to 6 feet.
Is there a fence around the pool?
Around the pool, yes, that is a code requirement because of how that pool is activated and because there is no slope in and out of it.
I'm just curious, across the street from a school of young children, what's the difference between the pool and the pond?
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think a lot of it is with setbacks as well and not having kind of that abrupt, edge into the water. I think, and there's been talk about the school, I would say we would be happy to add a fence if it really became a concern, but you don't see a lot of retention ponds with fences. I wouldn't want to do it all the way around by any stretch of the imagination. Gating off a retention pond, I think, would make it an eyesore. But I'm pretty confident with the landscaping that we'd have there as kind of a deterrent from just like walking into it, as well as the 60 to 75 foot setback that, as we have it designed right now, is still safe.
The kid, I know you can drown in water that's 6 inches deep, right? So there's a part of me that would, if you had told me that it was a foot deep, I'd have a different feeling than if it's 5 or 6 or 3.
Yeah.
So I don't remember all the story, but the whole Joe Delaney situation, 35 years ago or whatever it was, where he died trying to save the 2 or 3 children down in his hometown, that was a minimal amount of water. And it was truly a pond. It wasn't necessarily one that was built like this is. But I know that these kids don't necessarily walk home. I know that they get picked up. But at the same time, if they're going to walk down to 135th Street, or they're going to meet somebody that's parked down here instead of at the school or whatever, they're going to walk right by the pond or one of the two. Yeah. So I don't want to be the guy that never asked the question and never brought up the point, because that feels like an issue that is a potential concern.
Yeah, and Rick Odo, let him answer that.
Rick Odo, Odo Development, President, 15200 West 105th Terrace, Lenox, Kansas.
Good evening.
Hi. On the ponds, they're sloped 3 to 1 for, I believe, 10 feet. Brian, is that right? At least 10 feet into it?
Hey, Brian, I'm sorry, can you come up to the mic, please? Thank you.
I thought you might repeat that, but Brian Scoville, city engineer, and so we follow APWA design guidelines for stormwater elements, including detention ponds, and I don't have all of those committed to memory, but I do know there is a minimum perimeter that has to be designed at a 5 to 1 slope to allow someone, if they did slip in, there's a path out. You could crawl out. It's not so steep that you would be slipping and sliding, right? I don't want to misrepresent. 5 to 1 is still a slope, so it's not like flat. But the rest of the perimeter can be designed up to 3 to 1 slopes. In a lot of detention ponds you see, there's oftentimes landscaping and buffer, and it just also depends on the type of pond. Some ponds are designed with native plants. I think these are extended wet detention basins, so they have fountains in them. They won't be planted full of the aquatic plants that you might see. So these are going to be more decorative in nature with the aerators and the fountains. So, but as far as design requirements, 3 to 1 slopes, very typical. We do have some ponds in Leawood where we have an actual vertical wall. And in those places, I think if you have more than a 30-inch drop-off, you are required to have a handrail in those areas.
Brian, do we have any additional requirements when this happens to be across the street from an elementary school?
The design criteria for detention ponds does not take into account if there's an elementary school or any other type of nearby development.
Okay. So the liability is the developers?
I don't know. That'd be a good question for their attorney or our attorney. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
I do want to add, Commissioner McGurn, if it's a requirement or request, we typically don't do it. We are more than happy to fence off that area around it, from the edge of the building around to whatever you determine you think or whatever you feel. That is something that's not an issue to me. Typically, these things are designed so if someone does get in, you can walk out, crawl out without a problem. But if you feel we need to do more, that is not an issue for me to put a fence up on that side. I don't like it going all the way around, but we will do what you asked me to do. That is not an issue for me.
Yeah.
And you've got something to.
The last thing I was going to say too is, when we get to the final development plan stage and get into more of those details of what does that look like, just talking with the civil engineer real quick, how we do have certain slopes planned right now, like those 5-to-1s, a bench area that is flat, and then another slope. But between that, looking at a fence and landscaping as a deterrent, definitely want to make sure we get that covered. So.
Okay. I don't think it's my responsibility to decide what's appropriate. I think the city ought to stand up and decide whether they want to do something slightly different to provide additional protection. And maybe it's a 2-foot fence, maybe it's relatively small. And I get that kids can jump over a fence, but in the grand scheme of things, there may be something that's appropriate, and it feels like it's a bit awkward at the moment.
I appreciate that. Agreed.
Thank you.
Did you want us to just, stipulate that, or did you want us to address that at final? But we're happy to draw that in off the corner of the building, if you can.
If we get to the site plan.
Around it.
I personally would have hoped that was resolved between the last meeting and this meeting.
When we did talk to staff, it was like it wasn't necessary, so we're happy to do that. I can't stress that enough.
And
when we
again,
said it wasn't
I'm not the
required.
expert on this, so
Okay. We'll
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think something should be done, but I'm not going to specify what I think should be done.
I think we would want to work that out at a final plan level when we'd have a little bit more detail in terms of the actual design of the detention basin and some more details with that.
Then let's specifically require that to happen.
And then just to provide a little bit of context, just across the street at Gezer Park, just to kind of remind everybody, there's a water feature there right down the pathway from the playground that's in that park.
But that's like this much water, right?
Yeah, and as noted, all it takes is a few inches for, kind of a dangerous situation. But just, again, to provide a little bit of context in terms of water features in that vicinity.
Thank you.
My 3-year-old and I have loved playing in that water area. So.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It attracts people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Nadelman.
Oh, I just wanted to, one more tag team on the pond. In the winter, when it freezes up, will the fountains keep it from freezing, or is there a hazard with kids walking on ice?
I think we do winterize it, or the fountains.
We always winterize the pumps because we don't want them to freeze. And I know we always put signs up, but these are kids. Once again, no fishing, no skating, and no swimming. And it's always on those, but that's what's on every pond in the city, I'm sure.
Additional questions for the applicant? Patrick, a couple questions for me.
Sure.
I brought up about the Blue Valley School District getting a notification for an Interact meeting. Have you, being the closest neighbor there, did you guys have any interaction with the school district? Any discussion, reaching out?
Nothing specifically. Typically for this type of development, I think it was noted there are some comments of, we do have, primarily 1 and 2 bedrooms. There's not going to be a lot of kids generated from this project in terms of capacity. What will be generated is a lot of good tax dollars for the school district. I think that was noted. But typically in the past on other projects in the metro area, if there is an issue, they would reach out. But typically for this, that's been master plan for mixed use, and we're coming in with a mixed use project and not really changing what the expectations were. We don't anticipate any issues and did not hear from them confirming the same. So.
As I mentioned with staff earlier, when I was driving down there last week, I noticed the topography of it, that your site is significantly higher than across the street on 133rd Street. With, I was driving by Mission Trail with the open field, the play field. So, do you know what the difference is between those?
Not off the top of my head. Okay. I do know that there is about, I think it's a 10 to 12 foot grade change across the site, because I think we are low, for example, in the southeast corner, below the roadway, and then we get up above it on 135th. Like I said, I go to Geezer Park all the time. I'm trying to remember exactly how much higher we are. I think it was only a couple feet on that northeast corner, though. It wasn't terribly drastic.
Okay. Maybe it was just going through there, it just seemed higher. Just, yeah. My point is those the apartments are going to seem even higher compared to the roadway across the street, it looks like.
I mean, it's only a couple feet. I don't really think that they're going to be like that much higher up. Mm-hmm. I know that we kind of cut our site section. There wasn't a lot of slope change there, especially with us being able to bury the parking and then trying to keep like minimum floor to floor heights with 4-story buildings next to that, and with the school especially being, I think, anywhere between 22 to 35 feet tall, if I remember correctly. I think we'll actually be fairly comparable, especially with the setback too, from kind of our building to their building. I think was 400 feet. I'd have to pull up my section again, but.
I'm going to add to that about the grade change. On the 135th Street, we're low 12 feet. On the north side by 133rd, we're high a few feet right now. So we will be grading that. That will definitely be the low side of the property because we'll be coming into our garages, our underground garages from that side. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say we're taking it down below street level of 133rd, and we might do that, but we're definitely not going to be starting on that as the high
Okay.
part of the ground. We'll have to be doing that because that is the lowest part of the ground.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Carlberg.
One question, I'm looking at some of the input from some of the citizens here, and so I feel it's needed to reflect some of the things that they're asking about, just to make sure they know they're heard, because I think that's important. One of the questions was about tax treatment or any incentives. Is there an intent, or do you plan to make any kind of request for any tax treatment or financial incentive from the city of Leawood?
Yeah, with projects like this, when you're talking about underground garages, it is very difficult to get those to pencil out without some sort of financial assistance. Obviously, at this point, we haven't gone through all the details. I won't say that we won't be coming to you guys with a request. We most likely will, but have not fully flushed that out at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Commissioner Nadelman.
I may have misheard, but I thought earlier most of the traffic was coming in off of 135th Street. And I thought you just said the underground parking people that live in the apartments will be coming in off 133rd Street. Did I get that right?
So let me walk through maybe the entry points just to make sure it's clear. So 90% of the traffic per the traffic study is shown to go to 135th Street, and that is accessed either directly from 135th Street or via Fontana or Mission on the east-west. The access points to the garages are on the north side of the site. So they are, make sure you guys can see this. There's one access point to this building here to the underground garage and one on the north side of this building here. So while the access points to those garages are on the north, our traffic study still shows that a majority of the traffic does go south. And a lot of the the two entrances that we have here, we have one right in, right out on that side, and then this is one of our full turns that is lined up with that access across the street. That is an item that we worked with staff the first time around and Public Works of going through what those accesses are, how many that there should be, and where they should all align. So we're pretty confident in those positionings.
So let me ask you a question on what you just said. You said 90% of the traffic is going to come from or to 135th Street?
Yes. Traffic report's pretty long, but I'm pretty sure that was the stat.
So if the parking garages are off 133rd Street, wouldn't that dictate more traffic to that way?
No, because they're all can be accessed through the internal circulation. So just because they're on the north side doesn't necessarily mean that they would all be accessed like from 133rd.
But who would do that?
They do that.
Yeah, why
who would do
would
that?
you go through the entire development to get to the parking garage that's on the north end?
I think a lot of it has to do with just the overall access points. I mean, there's a lot of different right-in, right-outs along these areas with a few different full access. And so whether or not they are coming in off, Mission or Fontaine, coming in and hitting a roundabout and going up, but
I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'd come off either Fontana and get off on 133rd to get into those garages.
yeah.
Either the left or the west entrance or the east entrance there, but.
Well, especially because there's going to be a lot of additional traffic on 135th Street. So why wouldn't you take 133rd if that's where you live? If that's your garage right there.
Yeah.
Why would you come off here and go all the way through the whole development to get over there? You'd come off 133rd. So I also don't follow the math of 90% coming off of 135th Street. That doesn't compute to me at all.
Yeah. I know Kristen, I think our traffic engineer, is online. I'm pretty sure I'm stating the percentages from that report correctly. But I know we ran through it. I know that city staff and Public Works looked at it as well and agreed.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I'm a master of traffic engineering. But.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
all.
As this is a continuation of a previous case, that case did have a public hearing on it, and we will also open up this case tonight for a public hearing. So if anyone is in the audience that would like to speak on case PC 7225, please come up. I should say, let me open up the public hearing officially. And if anyone would like to speak on case 7225, Mission West Mixed Use, please come forward. Sir, tonight we're going to have 4 minutes per speaker.
Okay.
Just to let you know, Ms. Ewing is at the bell there, and you'll get I believe it's a 10 or 15 second warning light, and then it'll turn red and you'll hear a buzzing. So with that, welcome. Please give us your name and address for
My
the
name
record.
is Steve Dewar, 2211 West 132nd Street. I will start off saying I am a member of the Leawood Bike Walk Committee, but I am not here speaking for the committee. I'm here speaking on my own. My statement. In light of the tragic accident that took the life of a 10-year-old last week, I believe it is premature to consider approving the Mission West plan. The city is starting to look at ways to make our streets safer for everyone. Both Mission and 133rd are heavily used for recreational walking, biking, and a safe path to school. At this time, we don't know what recommendations might be coming forth. Let's not tie one hand behind our backs by prematurely approving a project and limiting our options. In this case, you have a proposed development directly across from a grade school, a heavily used park, a busy grocery store, a daycare, and it's a block away from a new development that, if I have my numbers right, it's going to have approximately 900 or 920 apartments and another 48 houses. That's a lot of people moving in, and we don't know what's going to be built at the east end of the 133rd at this point in time. At this point, if I'm right, we're on course to have close to 10% of Leawood's population concentrated in this one small area. Now you are considering adding a retail, fast food, and apartments on the same corner. To me, I find that very scary with the number of kids crossing the street every which direction. I believe the developer's spokesman stated last time that their timeline would be determined by the market. In that case, there's no hurry. I am asking you to turn this project down at this time. I'm not saying turn it down forever. Give the city a chance to evaluate and implement a safe street plan. 133rd and Mission is an extremely busy location. We have walkers, bikers, scooters, and kids playing all over this area. Let's get our priorities straight first. Give the city a chance to develop a workable program to make our streets and sidewalks safer. Only then should you look at this problem, at this project, and determine if it's appropriate for this location. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak on case 7225? Sir, welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Rob Groves. My address is 2757 West 131st Terrace. I loathe public speaking. I have a case of cotton mouth, so please bear with me. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. Appreciate your time, the questions you've asked of the applicant. I came into this tepid on this development. I live nearby, of course, and I also have 2 children that go to the Mission Trail Elementary School. I don't know the backgrounds of everybody on the commission, but I would point out to the commission that, of course, that street, Mission Road right there, 133rd and Mission, is a designated school zone. We're literally tonight talking about building a parking garage, an underground parking garage, which I fear that we will ultimately end up paying for a decent portion of out of our own tax dollars, whether that's through consumption tax or other, to build. And we're going to be parking this right next to Mission Trail Elementary School. I don't know off top hand if there's any example in the city of Leawood of a 4-story, MXD 4-story apartment building going in that will abut, and if I could put the diagram up there, I would show you where it abuts, a designated school zone. Maybe that's something that happens in other cities. I know of no place in city of Leawood where it is the case. And if there are such examples, I would think we should take a look at those examples and make case studies out of those examples and see exactly how that works, how the traffic flow works. I do have concerns about this 90% of the traffic to 135th Street. To me, that's some fun with words or something. I don't really know. I do think that the commissioners have asked a lot of really good questions about green space, setbacks, especially along 133rd Street. We had asked Mr. Odo previously in his development attempts to approach 133rd Street, and we asked the governing body to approach 133rd Street with kid gloves, hands-on. If I encourage you all to drive down, and I understand developments are different, topographies are different. I'm not trying to brush too broad of brush strokes here. I don't want to raise any needless objections. However, I would encourage everybody on the Planning Commission to drive down 133rd Street, and if you're heading towards State Line Road, look to your right and look and see those houses that have been built and are currently being built, how high up they are above the berms and above 133rd Street. This is going to be a big, high, 60-foot, 56-foot, I believe is what it said in the last, 58-foot in the last specs, overlooking, our green space of Mission Trail Elementary School. And if our recent local history says anything, that's exactly what the case is going to be. Those houses on 133rd are built up on what look like pedestals almost, overlooking 133rd. This is going to be no different. It's going to be worse. We're talking about parking garages and water retention ponds right across from an elementary school, and I don't think it's a very good idea. I think this plan needs some serious work. We need a serious look at this, and I would not want to be in a situation where I have to be one of the people that approve of this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak on case 7225?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Black.
seeing none, I move for closure of the public hearing.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Carlberg. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public hearing is closed. That does bring us to applicant rebuttal. Patrick, if you'd like to come up and... Patrick? Or Rick?
I appreciate the opportunity here to speak again. I just want to stress that this site has been zoned for MXD for 22 years. It's had a few things put forth that's been denied. We worked with staff to follow the master plan, follow the zoning. The only deviation is a allowable deviation of parking. We're willing to work with the pond, putting a fence around it. This is an almost identical property that was approved across the street to the south of us, as we showed last time. We didn't go into that this time. And it's 90% of the traffic is diverted away from 133rd at the school is what the right answer is. I'm sorry that was misquoted. We do have traffic going to Mission. We have traffic going to Fontaine. We have traffic going to 135th Street, but we try to divert 90% of it away from the school. That's why we have we have to have so many street outlets over there, and we had to have that's why we did the right in and right out across the street from the school for safety, and that's why we had the one full required access to be as far away from the school as possible. We lined it up with the driveway across the street, so we have to have those. Anything's going to put a bit of traffic out, but this is really the street can handle it, and we are very conscious of the safety factor. And we are several hundred feet away. Is that right? From the school. Yeah, a couple hundred feet away. We had that cross section last time we went away from, and we're over 660 feet away from the nearest house. So we do have the setbacks. Our setbacks from housing and stuff is further away than, once again, Oxford Common across the street. So we try to take a good plan and make it better. We activated that center with better, with the trellises and seating, and we really try to improve it. Did you have something else to add to that? I'm open to any questions if there are any.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Otto. Before we move on to discussion, I did have a question for staff. Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to clarify for the record, the site is not zoned mixed use. It is future land use planned for mixed use. I just want to clarify that for the record in case if there's any confusion. One of the considerations as part of this application is to rezone the site from planned business to mixed use with a 4-story maximum. I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Okay, thank you. That was going to be I think a question from all of us on that one. Okay. All right, with that, open it up to discussion by the commission. Commissioner Carberg.
I've been making some lists. If I'm just going to go through my list real quick on the school thing, it's been discussed a lot. And we talk about how much space there is between one building and another. That's not debatable, it is. But buildings don't move, kids do. And it's the kids that we're thinking about and the safety for the kids. So I think that that's an issue that we need to think about. I'm disappointed the schools didn't say anything, but I also think if we just sent them the notice of this hearing and we didn't hear anything, I would hope we can go back and say to a facilities manager or superintendent or the principal, we need your opinion on this. There's been too much discussion about the kids and the schools and the safety not to have any vote. In our packets, we get notes from the police and from the fire, and now with this hearing, I think it's rather obvious that the schools ought to be included too. And without that, I don't think we're giving a thorough hearing. On the public input, I appreciate people's input, and I have kind of two facets of that. Out of all the input we've got, we had one that was very robust and based on a professional opinion as a medical professional, and I put a lot of weight on that. The others said, I don't want it. I don't put a lot of weight on that because there's no real rationale that we're given. And while I appreciate people taking some time, I would hope they would give more thought to more than just I don't want it, because I don't think that holds a lot of weight, whereas the other one did. I don't really see a change in walkability, and I don't equate programming and walkability based on what I see. Programming is one thing, walkability is another, so I don't particularly go for that. The 4-story issue, I've heard some people, particularly on the council, talk about a canyoning effect. I don't think 4 stories gives a canyoning effect. I don't think there's a problem with 4 stories, frankly. I think that's something that's going to be in our city, and if it looks good, we ought to welcome it. On the 133rd Street access, 137th and 133rd were provided as relief roads, as I understand it, for 135th, is what it was described to me. So I would anticipate that the traffic on both those roads, and 133rd being the one in question now, is going to increase as time goes on and more people discover it. I'm not sure if the traffic study really took that into effect or not, but I do see that as one of the things to think about. And on the fence, it's a little thing, but it's a big thing. On the fence, when we mentioned it last time around that water retention pond, I got a visual communication that you heard me, and it wasn't included this time. I think that's a lapse. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner Carlberg. Any other discussion? Commissioner Fishman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I note, pardon me, I note the concern expressed by the Planning Commission of the traffic situation on 133rd Street and its relationship to the school. And that is a concern, but I would like to focus on an issue that I raised during the previous hearing, and that is the density of the pad sites on 135th Street. There are 6 pad sites with frontage on 135th Street, 2 of which are drive-throughs. It was my hope that one or more of those drive-throughs would have been removed during the reconsideration that the applicant had with the staff. My concern about those pad sites is that it looks to me like 135th Street would become similar to Knoll south of 95th Street on the west side, or Metcalf south, Knoll south of College Boulevard on the west side, and Metcalf south of 95th Street on the east side. You have just a lineup of pad site fast food restaurants, and you're going to see a Chick-fil-A and a McDonald's and who knows what else is going to be there. I don't think that, at least in my opinion, that a lineup of fast food restaurants on 135th Street is consistent with my vision of what 135th Street really should look like. So I would, for that reason, if not others, I would be opposed to approval of this application.
Thank you, Commissioner Fishman. Commissioner McGurn.
Thank you. I do appreciate the improvements from before. I think they have been categorized as minor. I think we need more. The school input is needed, the way Commissioner Carlberg referenced it, I thought was spot on. The safety concerns, in my opinion, still need to be addressed and resolved. There can't be no difference between putting that right next to a school and putting it anywhere else. The fact that it's right next to a school has got to matter and has got to be addressed in a way that hasn't been yet, in my opinion. To me, this is a work in progress. It has potential, but I just don't think we're there at this point. Thank you.
Commissioner Naneman.
I want to reiterate, thank you for coming back and trying to do some more work on this. I'm not there yet either. Traffic on 133rd is really my biggest concern right now.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Franze.
Yeah, I would echo some of the concerns of the other commissioners, and I also wanted to point out, I do on the, because it's come up several times, the pond safety issue, I do think we should be deferring to staff who are asking us to address that at final and saying, hey, that's not really a preliminary plan question. I think we have sufficiently created the record to give the roadmap for that, for staff to look at that, so I think that's good. The traffic concerns are tough, I think, because I don't really know what you do. This is comprehensive plan for mixed-use 4-story development. They're coming in with a mixed-use 4-story development project. It's going to have to connect to 133rd. I think that they've done a good job making the east entrance only right in, right out, and not having left turns there that I think are going to create more danger if you're having to look at traffic coming both directions and trying to look out for kids. And I appreciate that the westmost entrance on 133rd is the full access, so that people wanting to go west on 133rd are going out there and immediately going away from the school. So I don't really know what else we tell the applicant to do about the traffic situation. I think it has to connect to 133rd there. I think the pad sites question is also difficult because I think they're trying to do what the 135th Street plan says to do, which is you don't have parking up on the street. You have the buildings there, and that kind of creates this centralized parking situation. I think we're just kind of putting the applicant in a bind. They're trying to meet the 135th Street plan and the code requirements, and that's why this looks a lot like the one that we approved to the south, because that's how you meet those requirements. So I have concerns. I think they've addressed some things. I think they could address further things. But I also just, from a general position, want to put out there, I don't think we should be putting developers in a situation where we're telling them to do things and having conflicting directions that they can't really follow and meet.
Thank you, Commissioner Franze. Any additional discussion? Okay, I do have some items. First of all, thank you for the public, both for your emails and coming up and actually being brave enough to talk to us for a couple minutes in front of the podium. I appreciate it, as well as everyone else does here. My biggest concern when this came up last month was the drive-throughs. This is a rezoning to mixed use. Mixed use is a sense of community. Mixed use is walkability. 3 drive-throughs is the exact opposite of that. You're putting in people that are coming in and leaving. You're stacking cars with the double drive-through. It just doesn't work well with mixed use and what we're trying to accomplish by mixed use. The current zoning, just to clarify for everyone, is office. We look at the comprehensive plan on an annual basis, and we look at everything and we say, okay, we change it if something needs to be changed, but I think we kept it office time and time again because it's across the school. And office use across from a school it works well with the school. An apartment complex with the traffic, not so much as the office. In regards to the school, I would have loved for the Blue Valley School District to put their input in. I know we've had them before in front of us to give their opinion on certain items. I know they have someone in charge of keeping track of developments because we've had them here before and they've talked about, yes, we keep track of everything with enrollment and things that are being built. So it would have been nice to have their input, but they chose not to, and I respect that. Maybe they want a hands-off policy when it comes to zoning. But with Mission Trail, I have had 3 kids go through Mission Trail. To Commissioner McGurn's point, there are a ton of walkers that come from Mission Trail. Okay. And they're going all different directions into the neighborhoods, crossing Mission Road. While there are a lot of parents picking kids up, there's a lot of parents meeting the kids as well and walking with them. Mm-hmm. But the 4th and 5th graders do, they're on their own. They can go wherever they want. They can go to Price Chopper and get candy as my kids did especially on early dismissal time. So I'm very cognizant of the school and the school zone areas. There's flashing lights at least on 3 or 4 locations, one right on 133rd Street, both on the east and west sides. So that is a concern as well. The traffic study, I got to tell you, common sense would tell me I'm not going through 135th Street. I am going on 133rd Street to get to my parking garage. I mean, who wants to go through that maze of stuff to get to a parking garage that's on the north end of that? So I really don't have a lot of faith in that traffic study. I don't think traffic's going to be diverted to 135th Street. I think it's going to be jammed up on 133rd, for what that's worth. So those are my comments. Any other comments from commission members? Okay. Well, that brings us to a motion. Would anyone like to make a motion? I cannot make motions, so one of you guys is going to have to do something.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Fishman.
I move for denial of case number PC 7225.
Thank you, Commissioner Fishman. Second, Commissioner Carlberg. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor of recommending denial of case 7225, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So 5-7 with Commissioners Franze and Block. No. Everyone else, yes.
Mr. Chair, can you affirm the vote again, please?
Just in general, or?
Yeah, you said 5-3.
5-3, sorry. 6-2.
6-2.
6-2.
Okay, so the vote
6-2
6-2
for
and
denial.
recommendation of denial.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, thank
I
you.
just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay. All right, thank you all very much. With that, we'll take a 5-minute recess before we move on with the rest of the agenda. All right, ladies and gentlemen, reconvening our meeting of the Planning Commission for October 28th, 2025. Commission now calls case 7725, City of Leawood, Hallbrook North Tax Increment Financing, TIF Project Plan, determination of a consistency of the Hallbrook North TIF Project Plan with the intent of the city's comprehensive plan. Ms. Hurley?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. As you said, this is consideration of the Hallbrook North Tax Increment Financing Project Plan to determine its consistency with the city's comprehensive plan. So this would be the first one that this board has considered like this. So state statute does require that any TIF project plan come before the Planning Commission for determination of consistency with the city's adopted comprehensive plan. So that's why you're seeing it. So this would be sort of similar to when you consider the city's CIP plan annually to determine that it is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. So kind of the same concept there in taking a look at this. So again, this is required by state statute. So as you'll recall, last month you did consider the rezoning and preliminary plan for the Hallbrook North project. So this is what the request is in reference to. The developers have requested a number of incentives from the city, including a TIF district with this. And so the governing body is in the process of taking the steps to consider those incentives. This is one step in that process. So the governing body did consider this at their October 6th meeting and approved this kind of step creation of the TIF district. And so we are here seeing it again before they hold their public hearing on it next month. So just to kind of refresh your memory, this is a development on approximately 35 acres at the corner of State Line and College Boulevard. The TIF project plan also includes the city park property just to the west of the Hallbrook North development. As part of the Hallbrook North development, there's approximately 1.5 million square feet of construction. I won't go through all of that again since we had a rather lengthy meeting just about a month and a half ago talking about all of that. The Planning Commission at your meeting, when you considered that, did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the development there at Hallbrook North, and then the governing body did subsequently vote unanimously to approve that project as well.
Can I just stop you there for one question, Ms. Hurley? We had something on our dais. Is this different than what was in our packet?
I apologize. I forgot to mention that. Yes, I put a revised memo on the dais. The only thing that changed was the statute number. I cited the incorrect statute number in the original memo, so that is the only change. Everything else is exactly the same.
Thank you. Continue.
Yep. So then just taking a look at the manner in which the TIF project plan is in conformance with the adopted comprehensive plan. Really, we would be taking a look at the same things that you considered when you looked at the golden factors the last time when you took a look at that rezoning. So I called a few of those things out in the memo that I gave you. So again, this area is designated as appropriate for mixed use and public facilities for the city park portion on our future land use map. So it is in conformance in that regard. It meets a number of access and pedestrian goals that are outlined in the comprehensive plan. And then just the overall design of the mixed use development, the nature of the specifics that were included in that project that you previously looked at do meet a number of the goals that are outlined in the comprehensive plan that we called out in the memo. So that's the duty of this board, is just to take a look and say that yes, this is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. We do have other staff here as well. If you have any questions about the TIF process overall, they can answer some of those questions for you, and then I can answer any questions that you might have related to the comprehensive plan question.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hurley. A lot of questions. Look at all those hands going up. Commissioner McGurn.
I am fully supportive of this. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. I am fully supportive of this primarily because the funding is being asked for at the same time that the project is being initiated. And I appreciate the fact that we know that from the very beginning. The only question I have is related to page 3, and under D2, the last sentence in that paragraph says the estimated reimbursable project costs are set forth by type and amount in Exhibit G attached here too. I couldn't find Exhibit G. Is it just missing from mine, or is that something that you could put up that we could see?
No, we're all missing it, I believe so, from our packets.
If you could just show us that, that might give us some additional perspective.
Let me get into the online attachments and see if I can bring that up for you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, so Diane has got a copy of it that's going to be quick for me to put up instead of trying to find it online, so.
Perfect.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner McGurn, or did you have any?
This is very helpful. I appreciate seeing this. Give me 10 more seconds. So the way this process works with what's reimbursable, obviously, is land acquisition, infrastructure, site work, and structured parking in 100% mode. What is excluded is the actual cost to construct and build out the entire project, which would be $545 million. Is that the way this always works? Is it very consistent with what's included? Excuse me, what the totals are and what's reimbursable? Is there a consistency to that?
I'm going to let Diane answer this question.
Thank you.
Good evening. Nice to be here. Diane Stoddard, City Administrator. I would say that yes, the statute, of course, does spell out what are reimbursable costs, but these kinds of costs are very similar to those that are requested with these types of projects.
Okay, terrific. Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Belzer.
Julie, remind me, this was not part of the Hallbrook North plan when we saw it previously, was it?
The incentive package? No, this was not part of what the Planning Commission would consider.
Okay, so is it something that could be included in a packet or it has to come after it's approved?
This is not my area of expertise. I know we have policies on all these incentives, and they talk about when it should be brought forward.
Yeah, I would say that typically the planning commissions that I've been familiar with, they don't typically take up the issue of incentives. The reason why this piece is in front of you this evening is, as Ms. Hurley explained, we are using one of the tools, which is the tax increment financing statute, and it does require coming before the planning commission for the finding this evening about the conformance and compatibility with the city's comprehensive plan. But typically, the issue of zoning has a very narrow field of issues that can be considered. Would that be fair?
Yes, this is not, whether to grant incentives is not really the purview of the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Block?
Julie or Diane, I don't know if I missed it, but why is the project area so big? You know, I mean, obviously, we're talking about just the, you know, what's considered Project Area 2, and maybe it's in the packet and I missed it, but why does it include the city park also?
So one of the reasons is that in order to be able to expend some of the tax increment financing revenues for the city within the park, we had to include it within the district. And then the other reason is just to be able to qualify this project to be eligible to use the tax increment financing tool. So our mechanism there has to do with recognizing the preponderance of floodplain within the entire district, and we do get that by including the city park.
I see. Thank you.
But we do, I did want to emphasize, we do intend to receive 5% of the increment and be able to use that as a city for projects within the park.
And so, maybe just a continuation. So, purchases of the aquatic center, those all are subject to this tax as well? Is that just kind of how it works? Or you're saying they just get the benefit?
No, it wouldn't be part of the incentives as far as adding on with the community improvement district, like any additional sales taxes or anything like that. But this is just being able to utilize the property tax increment from tax increment financing, and we'll have 5% that comes to the city, and we could utilize that within the park for city projects.
Yeah, got it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was confusing the CID. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. It is confusing, and we've got a lot of different tools going on here.
Thank you.
Commissioner McGurn?
I have a follow-up question, and this is just me trying to learn and understand this a little bit. Original cost for the developer to buy the land from the owner is listed at $15 million. So we, in theory, pay for that over time because it's a reimbursable cost. And yet, if the city had gone to the owner and bought the land and then hired a developer, there would have been a constant stream of benefit from having owned the land. And yet, we don't get 95% of that benefit at all or over time?
Well, but also don't forget the city's not taking the risk with a project like this. So I think the risk factor and understanding the use of incentives in this case, we need to take into account that the developers upfronting all the money to build the project, and it's really from the project revenues that these incentives are being derived in the first place. Right. So I kind of term it as I think of these incentives as being self-regulating. That is that the developer's required to front the money, the developer's required to take the risk. There's no financial risk at all for the city in this, but and the developer has to perform, has to build the buildings, has to have the activity to generate sales tax and guest tax and the other revenues that they're planning on receiving to help reimburse themselves for those upfront costs.
And 100% of the reimbursement that they get over time is because they did an excellent job and this works and it funds itself over a period of time. And the city happens to get 5% of the deal.
Correct.
Annually, I guess, each year or whatever.
Right. We would get the 5% annually for the 20 years of the increment being captured.
And then once it covers the expenses that were reimbursable from the very beginning, what happens after that?
Well, one thing is that we will be working with the developer on a development agreement that the governing body will look at in December at their meeting, and that will look at more specifics as to, what any caps are on any of these reimbursements and that kind of thing.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so it'll be detailed in quite a bit more detail than the memorandum of understanding that was considered by the governing body earlier this month.
Makes sense.
Additional questions for staff? Okay. I have a couple of questions. And it's very interesting reading. Thank you for I know you have to do this, but it was still very interesting to go through this document. One thing that really stuck out with me, well, there's several things that stuck out with me, was that this is a blighted area. And I understand blighted area in this case means the 100-year flood plan. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this because I point blank asked the developer last time he was here. He said he needed this to go forward with the project. And I asked him, I said, why do you need this tax incentive to put this project together? And then he handed it over to Ms. Stoddard at that point. Never really answered my question on it from his standpoint. But this is greenfield space. Nothing has been built on this, yet we're calling it a redevelopment district. We're calling it a blighted area, and there's nothing there now. So help me explain how a 100-year floodplain, and we asked the question of, is this development in the floodplain? And he said, no, we're outside of it, we can build it. So explain to me, because it's just not adding up to me.
I would ask if Kevin Wimpy might be able to help with this question. I think Kevin is on Zoom. Kevin's the city's bond counsel, and he helped us with the with putting the project together with the developer, and I think he might be able to comment a little bit on the statutory provision and how that's met and how that interfaces with floodplain.
Yeah, good evening, Diane and commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, well, great. Thanks for accommodating me virtually here while I'm under the weather is probably evident. But on the eligibility for TIF usage, the TIF statute provides that you can only use TIF in certain geographical areas. And there's several categories of those, and one of those is blight. And one of the subcategories of blight is that the majority of the TIF district is located in the 100-year floodplain. And that finding's in the purview of the city council, and they held a public hearing and made that finding at the meeting early on this month when they established the TIF district. So that blight finding has already been made, and the TIF district formed by the city council under its purview earlier this month.
Kevin, before you continue, can you just give us your business address, identify yourself, and give us your business address for the record, please?
Oh, you bet. Yeah, Kevin Wimpy with Gilmore and Bell. We're the city's bond counsel, 2405 Grand Boulevard.
Kansas City, Missouri?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Continuing on that, with the map of the district, so the whole TIF district, now I'm looking at Exhibit B, just for reference in the packet. The whole project area in the TIF district, so it does include all of City Park?
That's correct.
Okay, but the actual project area is Project Area 2 where the development is?
Yes, so the project, the Hallbrook North project area is just over there at the east, but the entire TIF district includes the entire city park.
All right, on exhibit, what was the exhibit that we're missing? Was it G?
G.
So G, so the redevelopment cost for the entire district, if you will, is basically $765 million. That's the cost of building and land acquisition and everything?
That's correct.
Okay. And the reimbursable amount that we are giving to the developers, $220 million?
what is listed here is total possible reimbursable costs. So again, knowing that land acquisition is one of those, infrastructure is one of those that's eligible, and also structured parking is also eligible.
Okay, up to $220 million.
Yes, and again, as I had indicated, we'll get into some more refinement about more of the details
Right,
of.
this is just.
Right,
out the
this,
gate
yeah,
right
just
now.
in general, this is meant to summarize the total cost and then what is estimated as reimbursable.
Okay, and we, as the project moves on, where are we coming up with the $220 million that is being reimbursed? Is it?
It is generated by the development itself. So this is why I say it's self-regulating, because there's not any money that is coming from the city somehow that we have now that we won't have without the project. So with tax increment financing, that's coming, it's generating new property tax revenue, and the increment of that new property tax revenue is going to be diverted partly to the developer and then partly to the city. But it's all because the development is happening. Same thing with the other incentives. The Community Improvement District sales tax needs to be generated, it would be generated within this new development. And again, it relies on the developer creating the necessary conditions to make that sales tax happen. Guest tax in the same way. They would be building a hotel as part of the development, and that's how they generate the guest tax that would then come back to them as part of the incentive to build the hotel and event space. So that's the case with all of these incentives. They come from money that is generated by the development itself. So I think that's really important. And I like that because it's, again, it's relying on their performance for them to be able to get the revenues returned to them over time that basically they up front, because they're building all these improvements.
What happens if they can't get the revenues?
If they can't get the revenues, they're short. They have to generate the revenues, or the project is not successful. So there's no obligation for the city to provide additional revenues beyond revenues that are generated from these sources.
In the past, we've never done this as a city with other developments that have come through. Why are we doing it with this one then?
Well, this is a $765 million project. So we haven't really ever seen a project of this magnitude, and it's very typical for projects of this size to seek incentives from cities. And I would say if we want to be able to be competitive, we need to be able to do what other communities are doing to entice this kind of development.
No, you can go ahead, Ms. Belzer.
Thank you, Diane, for that very clear and concise explanation. It really, as going through this packet, I don't know who just said it was really interesting and fun to read. But that is like the nutshell version. And when people are operating under limiting assumptions and thinking this money is just coming from the city and it's going, you're just paying $220 million for them to build that project, I think that gives us the language also to be able to talk to those people and say, well, actually, it's not. The city's not paying that out. It's generated through the project. So that language was, that explanation was, for me personally, very, very helpful. So thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Franze.
Yeah. One other clarifying point that I think Julie or Diane could jump in. So at the end of the 20-year TIF term, the city now has a $750 million development fully taxable on the tax rolls, generating tax revenue for all the taxing districts, correct? Yeah.
Commissioner Fishman.
I have a question for our bond counsel, if he's still on with us. Mr. Wimpy? No, thank you. You didn't hear me, did you? I have a question for our bond counsel, if he's still on the line.
He is no longer on Zoom.
Okay.
I'm here, Commissioner. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Wimpy. I have a question. I've understood that there is a concept called, when you're talking about blight, there's a concept called economic blight, in that the vacant ground produces very little in the way of taxes, far less than it would produce if the property were developed. Is that an actual concept, or is that something that is not recognized anymore?
Commissioner, in theory, I understand what you're saying about productivity of the land. As far as in the statute, though, that is not anything that exists in the statute that we're utilizing here. The council at the meeting several weeks ago made the blight finding based on the existence of the floodplain, and so that's the statutory criterion under which we're pursuing TIF here.
Okay, well, thank you. I was just curious about that. And if there were such a thing as economic blight, I just thought that would be a further explanation to the remainder of the planning commissioners. So thank you for the information.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. All right, with that, we'll continue on to discussion. And discussion on this case of the commission. Discussion, okay.
Mr. Chair.
Is there a motion, Commissioner Block?
I move for approval of case 7725, City of Leawood, Hallbrook North Tax Increment Financing Project Plan.
Second. If I could, the motion actually needs to be, as we worded it, a finding that the Hallbrook North TIF project plan is consistent with the intent of the city's comprehensive plan, not for approval.
So I'll amend my motion. Thanks.
Second.
Second, Commissioner McGurran. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. I'm going to jump in here. I have some concerns with it. We've never done anything like this before because we haven't needed to with our projects that we've had in the city. And I've had discussions in the past with city council people and past mayors and why we haven't done it. So I do have a concern that we're kind of opening the door here for other developers to come in and to ask for other special development incentives in the future. So that's my concern with this. I think the land will eventually be developed by someone for something at some point. So I'm a little nervous about going down this road to put the TIF out there. So that's my 2 cents with it.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Fisher.
Just as a matter of clarification, the City Council, I believe, will eventually, when confronted with the decision of whether or not to approve this TIF plan, will have to make a finding that but for the TIF benefit, this project would not happen. And so that may allay some of your fears with respect to opening the door to other projects.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Carlberg.
It seems to me that there already is the door open. When we talk about, somebody had mentioned on East Village that they're now pursuing certain incentives too. And I'm not arguing one way or the other, but as an incentive has a different label, it's still an incentive. So that door is open already. So I do think it relies on the city council, though, to make that final call. So that, to me, makes our role a little less significant than if we were the final group that says so.
Good point. Okay, any other discussion?
No, and maybe just to further that, I mean, I think what's before us, if I can, is just, you know, is it consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan? You know, not whether or not a TIF is warranted in this case or not. So I think same thing you guys said, but maybe just a different way.
That's a good point.
Good point. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving case 7725, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Case 7725 is approved. That brings us up, Commission calls case 9825, Leawood Town Center, Johnson County Pioneer Library, courtyard renovation, request for approval of a revised final development plan located north of Town Center Drive and west of Rowe Avenue. Ms. Burt, is this yours?
Yes.
Okay, please continue.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, this is case 9825, Johnson County Library request for approval of a revised final development plan. The applicant is requesting approval of a revised final development plan for a courtyard renovation for the Johnson County Pioneer Library to include the construction of 3 new alcoves for seating as well as a new courtyard space with a shade structure adjacent to the west facade. The total project area is 3,102 square feet, with 1,072 square feet of that to be landscaped. The overall increase of impervious surface on the site is 630 square feet. Along the western property line is where the 3 alcoves are proposed to be constructed, which are separated out by 10-foot by 11-foot sections. Each are to include, sorry, it's been a long day, guys. Each are to include 2 built-in concrete benches with built-in lighting, a table and 2 chairs, and a power station bollard. For the primary courtyard space, there is proposed to be a new shade structure constructed of a perforated architectural material. Below this, only stationary chairs and tables are proposed to be there, as well as a landscaped bed. The project does include the removal of 3 existing trees which have been inventoried, and the required replacement trees are included with this application. Located between the alcoves are similarly sized plant beds, all featuring one ornamental tree with deciduous shrubs and ornamental grasses. At this time, the City of Leawood Planning Department has not received any public comments regarding this project. This application does meet all requirements of the Leawood Development Ordinance, and staff is recommending approval of case 9825 with the 13 stipulations listed in the report. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Chairman?
Mr. Carlberg.
Are the police items included in the final plan? Are they all handled?
Yes, the comment about the lighting, it's not required by the LDO, but it's definitely something that can be considered by the applicant, but I can't require them to bring up the lighting any further. They do meet the LDO requirements.
Okay.
Mr. Black.
Ms. Bird, I don't know, more of a comment than a question. I do appreciate the addition of the most recent case on that you added to this, and actually to the next case, and the addition of that police memo. I don't know if you just went above and beyond, but I like those for future cases. I think that was helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. With the police report, that's something that we don't normally see. Was there a particular reason why you went to the police?
So we've actually,
for their opinion?
We've recently started incorporating them in our meetings for site plans. And this, I guess, maybe is the first time she's sent a memo. This case did get continued from last month. So maybe, I don't know, I guess. But yeah, we're starting to see more of them.
Yeah, we've started including the police department in our development review meetings, and so, Officer Farquhar is, certified in SubTed considerations, and so she doesn't always have memos for all of our projects, but yeah, when she does have comments, she has started providing memos, so you will start seeing more of those as they are applicable. So, yeah, we find it helpful too for our purposes, and so it sounds like they are for you as well.
No, I think it's great. I mean,
very smart.
just hearing the mumbling up here, I think everyone's in agreement with that to get their opinion on things. Not only it helps us, but I think it would help the applicant in thinking about things that they haven't thought of before. So that's good on both. So there really isn't a current courtyard. It's just that little path.
There's not a courtyard, and right now they've got those pillars that are kind of located in a funky way within the landscaped area. I think there's a walkway behind it, and that's a safety concern as well, but they want to create somewhere that people can gather and also kind of incorporate it with our courtyard space here at the City Hall. So
That's a great idea. Any other questions for staff? Okay, with that, I'll invite the applicant to come forward. If there is an applicant, okay, good. Sir, please state your name and then business address for the record.
Brad Clark, 800 West 47th Street, Suite 635.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Clark.
Missouri.
Do you have any presentation or anything?
Well, I think they did a nice job of presenting it. What we were trying to accomplish, I think she covered in that it's trying to meet the sort of blend between the Leawood courtyard here and the library, provide an amenity space, address the sort of hidden space behind the columns that are there now. I think there was, when they designed it, some intention that would be a courtyard space, but it's cut up and it's hidden, and then the plantings that are there currently don't provide an actual space. It's just a kind of a pass-through walkway.
Yeah.
So, and then we did look at to address your comments on or talk about what the police report said. We meet the lighting requirements underneath or the lighting recommendations from the police department underneath the canopy. And then sort of on the boundary conditions where we just have walkways, we let that fall back into the code minimums. But underneath the canopy, we are well above those lighting levels. So, and any questions? It's brief.
Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner McGurn.
Thank you. The perforated architectural metal material that looks very nice in the drawing, does it slope away from the building to some extent so the water would run out and I guess land on the concrete below?
So it's sloping in both directions and it's perforated. So it's a shade trellis. It's not intended to stop water.
So when it rains, which way will the water drain?
Down. It'll
down.
Sorry.
Through the whole thing?
Not intended, yes. It's perforated, it's open, so it's a trellis.
Okay.
There will be some of the obviously non-perforated areas that are sloping, and it's going to shed into the gaps between the sloped areas.
So would this metal material and water draining through it or over it, will it over time create any kind of staining on the concrete? Will that metal do anything that causes that?
It's aluminum that's powder coated, so there shouldn't be any sort of corrosive or galvanic action that would discolor the water and stain the concrete below.
So the point you made a minute ago is it's strictly for shade.
Yes.
Nobody's going to be out there when it's raining because water's going to be all over everybody.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
It's
thank you.
It's just shade.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Commissioner Block.
I know it's separate from the city's courtyard, but there is an effort to create a veterans memorial. I believe there's a study for the city's courtyard. I don't know if that was brought into your consideration with your planning, or maybe they're just mutually exclusive because there is some separation. But I just curious if you took that into consideration at all, and if so, how?
So we were aware of that, but it's not. There isn't any consideration.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any additional questions for the applicant? So I have a question so the property line, I mean, obviously it kind of looks like a complex together, but I know there's got to be a property line for the Johnson County Library and the city starts? Where approximately is that?
So the property line is right on the edge of the planter that's the Leawood Plaza. So if you're facing Leawood City Hall, the tree planter, it's right on the left, on the side of it.
Okay. First when this came through, I'm like, I thought it was a redevelopment of a courtyard, and I was like, I don't ever remember seeing a courtyard in there, so.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was considered the courtyard.
It
so.
is called the courtyard,
Okay.
but it is not currently.
Very good. Any additional questions? Okay, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time. That brings us up to discussion. Any discussion on case 9825? Commissioner Belzer.
Well, I would just like to comment that I think this is a really great use of that space and really will bring community to that space. And I love the device charging stations. So you could have a little work outside space pop up over there and really create a lot of community. I think it's a great use of that space.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Neiman.
Wanted to say the same thing. I think the attention to detail, the charging stations, the colors, I think it's a great plan. Thank you for doing it.
Any other discussion? Commissioner McGurn.
I'll make a motion when you're ready.
Okay. Well, I'm not ready.
I know. that's why I hesitated.
You're ready, though. I can tell.
I'm waiting.
Any other discussion? Okay. I would also just like to echo, I've been going to this library with my kids and myself for years. It's the Johnson County Library is probably one of the best aspects of living in Johnson County, but most people don't know all the stuff that's available to them in the library and online. It's a great resource. And this really helps tie into the rest of the city plaza. I think it's going to be a great addition to it. I'm very happy to see it. So, Commissioner McGurn.
I move for approval of PC 98-25 Leawood Town Center, Johnson County Pioneer Library Courtyard Reno, revised final development plan.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Belzer. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor of approving case 9825, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Case 9825 is unanimously approved. Thank you very much for your time, sir. All right, the commission calls case 110-25, Leawood Village, Cava. Request for approval of a revised preliminary development plan, revised final development plan, and special use permit located south of 86 Terrace and west of State Line Road. Let's see who's got this one. Ms. Burt, you are up again.
This is case 11025, Cava, request for approval of a revised preliminary plan, revised final plan, and special use permit. The applicant is requesting the approval of a single-story 2,514 square foot restaurant on a 43,203 square foot parcel within the Leawood Village development, north of 89th Street and west of State Line Road, currently zoned MXD. This proposed building will be a new Cava location upon approval. The proposed restaurant will feature an interior dining space, a patio, and a drive-through for mobile pickups only. Due to the request for a drive-through, it requires a special use permit, which is proposed for a term of 20 years from the date of approval by the governing body. The subject site is Lot 5, which is the first of the 3 outparcels of the already platted Leawood Village development. The applicant is proposing a structure, that's repetitive. The applicant is proposing a structure with a total of 2,514 square foot with the ability to expand up to 4,000 square feet. This proposal is less than what is proposed in the previously approved or currently approved final development plan for the Leawood Village, which approved a retail structure use for 4,000 square feet. The building features a roughly 12.5 foot tall canopy that wraps around the north facade and midway on both the east and west sides. The north side of the building has a roughly 480 square foot patio space that includes chairs and tables for patrons to utilize. The primary structure's materials are proposed to be cedar, stucco, natural stone with aluminum detailing and breeze blocks. The trash enclosure is proposed to be located on the south side of the building with access through the drive-through lane constructed of matching materials. Along the western side of the building, the applicant is proposing a sidewalk within the property lines and is required to install a temporary sidewalk crossing through the undeveloped property to the north, connecting with the existing sidewalk at the main entrance of the development. The proposed drive-through lane will wrap around the building with both an entrance and exit located on the west side of the building facing the already existing shared parking lot. For landscaping, the applicant is not required to install any street trees as the developer has already installed them previously. However, plans show much of the perimeter of the proposed building to be surrounded in at least a 5-foot landscape buffer on both east and west sides of the building. The drive-through lane along the north property line is lined on both sides with evergreen shrubs, ornamental grasses, and ground cover. The landscape bed in the front of the building is proposed to have 2 purple European beech trees as well as several evergreen shrubs, ornamental grasses, and ground cover. The applicant is proposing to reduce the number of total parking spots for the overall development from 520 total parking spaces, including surface and garage parking, to 500 total parking spaces. This application includes 8 additional parking spaces to what is existing already. This meets the parking requirements of the Leawood Development Ordinance. The Interact meeting was held on October 13th with no members of the public in attendance, only members of the applicant's team. At this time, the City of Leawood Department has not received any public comments. Since this is a special use permit, the golden factors have been reviewed and are located within your packet. The application meets all requirements of the Leawood Development Ordinance, and staff is recommending approval of case 11025 with the 27 stipulations listed in the report. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Burt. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Block.
Ms. Burt, help me understand the ability to expand. I'm guessing that they don't want to lose the 4,000 that was already approved, but what in reality, what's that? You know, it looks like that would be very hard to expand this store, and maybe that's a discussion for another day if that ever would happen. But I'm just trying to understand how that would work.
I'm going to let the applicant answer that question.
Okay, then I have another question for you. On parking on page 5, it references phase 2. What was phase 1, or is that a typo? Or I guess
phase 1 is the apartment building that's been constructed with the first level of retail space, and I think that also. Let me check my.
Well, and I guess I just wasn't tracking then. You know, it says that there will be an overall reduction, and maybe is that because.
It gets confusing because of it being a whole development, and now we're doing out parcels. So phase 1 also included a portion of the townhomes. So this is phase 2 being this lot specifically.
So there were going to be 20 more spaces in here. Is that because it says from 520 to 500? Is that not?
So in the approved final development plan now, it's showing 28 parking spots on that property on the north side of Lot 5. They're asking to reduce that number to 8. Mike, could you turn on the slideshow, please?
Okay, so the area in between the two buildings, that goes away? Is that the 20 spots that go away? Is that?
Yeah, the in between, not the shared parking, that's to the west.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. Hang on, I might have one more. No, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner McGurn.
So on that slide and on the next one, which is A010, I think, those parking spaces that you're referencing, are they within the future expansion line or are they outside of it?
They would be outside of it.
It would be outside of it, okay. So on that A010, the drawing that's there of the building is the 4,000 square foot site, if you will, not the 25.
Maybe I'm confused what page you're on.
It says A010. It's the second page.
It's on the back side. So this does not show the line for the expansion on this drawing specifically.
Right. So the answer you gave was that the parking spaces that are shown are outside of the future expansion line. But on this page that's on the screen, it makes it look like, if I'm looking correctly, it makes it look like they're inside the expansion line.
Are you looking at the one to the right?
To the north? I thought you said to the north of the building. Are those parking spaces or not? What is that?
Where it's like shaded and.
Yeah, it has lines in it. What is that?
Okay, so are you looking at the plan set that's up on the screen?
Correct.
Okay, so the plan on the left is what was previously approved. So we've got the 4,000 square foot building on the south side there along State Line Road. And then we have a parking field, and then we have another 4,000 square foot building on the other side of that large parking field.
Right.
What the applicant now is proposing with the southern building with this particular lot is reducing the size of the building down to just a little over 2,500 square feet. And they're kind of reoriented the building a little bit. And the drive-through kind of swings out a little bit more.
Okay.
Now, what they've done is they've done away with part of that parking field now that's between those two 4,000 square foot buildings.
Right.
So they have reanalyzed their parking for the site and said that the parking that they're provided with this reduced parking still is sufficient to handle on the site. So we have adequate parking for the residents. So we have the adequate parking for the apartment building for the interior covered parking spaces, plus additional needed for, that was approved with the apartment building. We still have the 2 parking spaces per unit for the townhomes. And then we have additional surface parking around the building and within the central parking field that they're now proposing on the slide on the right.
So I'm beginning to assume that that area that's to the north of the building site is a patio, not a parking area.
That is correct. So,
okay, that helps.
Yeah, so the way that the building is laid out, kind of on that northwest corner of the building, there's some outdoor dining, a trellis that kind of creates a covered parking area, and then they've got these little wind blocks.
They're called breeze blocks.
Breeze blocks, thank you, to kind of create a different type of barrier material to kind of create that enclosed, a patio area that is an outdoor dining.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
My
thank you.
second and last question at this point relates to the tunnel that goes under State Line.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that in the new drawing, that remains in a spot where if you were walking through it as an example, you're coming out about where the building number 3 on lot number 4 would be for the drive-through. And it says that the vehicular traffic is closed east of State Line. So on the Ward Parkway Mall side, it's closed. Is it closed to vehicular traffic, but you'll be able to walk through?
That is correct. So that tunnel is still open for pedestrian connectivity, so people can safely go from this development across State Line Road effectively and be able to go to Ward Parkway Mall.
Terrific.
Across. And the width of the tunnel has not changed, so it's still very wide, can accommodate 1+ vehicles through there, but it is solely for vehicular traffic. They've actually enhanced the lighting
Pedestrian.
underneath there to make it. What? I'm sorry.
You said it's for pedestrian traffic.
Yeah, sorry.
Pedestrian.
Did I say vehicular? Sorry. But they have enhanced lighting there to make it safer, to ensure that it's adequately illuminated at night so people can
Perfect.
feel safe walking from Ward Parkway over to Leawood Plaza.
Just as an aside, I remember as a child, the Christmas overflow parking for Ward Parkway was on that huge, massive parking lot that was filled at those points in time. Thank you.
Additional questions for staff? All right, seeing none, I will invite the applicant to come forward. Welcome, sir. Please state, give us your name and business address for our record.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Ramey. Address is 2188 Southwest Park Place, Suite 100, Portland, Oregon 97205.
Welcome to Kansas City.
Yeah. Went to the Chiefs game last night. That was a lot of fun.
Even better. Yeah, and you saw a win.
Yeah, it was great.
Excellent.
Just want to start by thanking the staff, planning team for working with us on this project. They were very gracious with their time and collaborated with us to bring this project to life. I don't have a presentation. I think Taylor covered it, but just wanted to be available to answer any questions.
All right, questions for the applicant? Commissioner Block.
So I'll ask the same question that I asked to staff as to how do you see this kind of land banking or space banking that you're doing?
So we're just focused on the 2,500 square foot Kava at this point, but want to leave it open for future expansion should the need come available.
So you don't know that, at this point, you don't think that the store itself would be, it's just for something way down the road potentially, or did you kind of master plan this building to be able to expand in one direction or another or all directions?
We've got the current property owner and developer of the project here. I could potentially speak to that, but we're just focused on the Kava at this point.
Okay, I'd be interested in hearing from him.
Yes.
Welcome, sir. Please state your name and business address for our records.
Yes, I'm Doug Weltner. Let's see, I got a new address, 4900 Main, Suite 400, Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, I'm the developer of the project there at Leawood Village. And, you know, we've been marketing these two sites as 4,000 square foot buildings because that's what we have approved. And of course, we meet parking requirements and all that goes with that when we went through the original approval. And that is still true today. We've talked with the city, we've talked both with Kava. You know, we really would like to keep the 4,000 square feet on the site for purposes of if the tenant would want to expand that building, he could in the future without really creating any kind of, I guess, rezoning or whatever it might be. It still would probably have to obviously come back for final plan approval. But we're very tight on our percentage ratios, retail, office, residential, because, you know, we built this project, a residential project in the middle of 300,000 square feet of retail across the street, a couple 100,000 square feet of offices surround us, and really, we really didn't, we literally put this project right in the middle of a mixed-use area, and we made it mixed use by adding the apartment building. And so it's just it's important to us. We don't know that this Kava is going to be fabulous, and we're very excited about them. But 10 years from now, we don't know, and it might be a 4,000 square foot tenant. And so I just think it kind of makes sense to show it that, you know, it is a site for a 4,000 square foot building. It helps us on ratios, and I'm also going to tell you, I've already got a tenant or a buyer that we're working with, and they're looking at 3,000 square feet on the site next door. And I guess I just don't want to always be forced to add 1,000 square foot tenant who I don't even know who they would be to one of these buildings and prevent somebody from having outdoor areas and things like that. And I just think, you know, if we meet all the requirements of landscape and architecture and all that, those are the important things. And so that's why we're making a request of the city, your planning commission, and the governing body that we would basically still have the 4,000 square feet on our use, you know, on our uses, and want to stay in compliance with that. That's our explanation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Maybe it's not new, but it's, I feel like that's a new, I don't know that I've seen this in a case before, so I'm just trying to understand it.
I got
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, thank you.
And I'll be available if there are questions about that issue.
Additional questions for the applicant? Commissioner Nainman.
So with Kava going into this space, what's the percentage of people who do use the drive-through versus dine-in? Because I'm trying to think, you don't want a Chick-fil-A traffic jam, but maybe more people dine in. So what's the percent?
That's a great question. I'm happy you asked that because Kava's does not have a traditional drive-through in the same way that Chick-fil-A or McDonald's does. It's a mobile-only pickup window. So customers will place an order in the app or through the website. They're given a time to make the pickup. The order's been paid for. If the customer gets to the window and they're too early or they want to change something, we have dedicated parking spaces in the parking lot for customers to pull ahead. This limits queuing. It prevents idling in the drive-through. It's just an overall cleaner process and allows Kava to service kind of a more modern, digital-forward customer. I also will say that, every profitable restaurant in America is on some sort of Uber Eats, Grubhub type of app. Kava directs those pickups into the store. They have dedicated pickup in the store for that. So they're only servicing direct to consumer in the pickup window. There's no, if I may have said this already, but there's no menu and there's no squawk box either, so it reduces noise.
Additional questions for the applicant? Let me ask you a question on that window, because I'm not familiar with any other business that really has that kind of model. In your stores across the country, how many stores have this kind of pickup window?
I'm sorry. I'll be the property owner, developer. I'll be managing the construction. I don't work for Kava. I don't have that data.
Okay.
But it is an important piece of their sales model. Chipotle's been starting to do it as well. Maybe you've seen a Chipotlane is their other branded pickup window, but I don't have actual sales numbers or percentages or anything like that.
Okay. Any other questions?
I do have one more.
Oh, Commissioner Fishman.
I do. I have a question, and this may not be a question for you, but in talking about expansion from 2,500 to 4,000 square feet, it looks to me, by looking at the site plan, that it would be pretty easy to expand the building just by adding up to 1,500 square feet on the south side of the building. Would that be the plan?
I can't speak to a theoretical future development, but I think structurally it would work to add onto the building on the west side. I'd have to get the opinion of an architect or structural engineer.
Just for clarification, it looked to me like the expansion space would be on the south side, if I'm looking at this correctly.
I believe it's the north and the west.
Yeah, the expansion line is shown on the north and the west, and like we had discussed with Mr. Weltner just a few minutes ago, it's almost a little bit more of a placeholder showing that this site can accommodate up to 4,000 square feet based on what was previously reviewed and approved with the currently approved final development plan for the overall development. So it's kind of holding that space, this site showing that it can accommodate that space. The specifics of where that additional 1,500 square feet might go would come down the line should this tenant or a different tenant want to do that at some point, but just kind of keeping that there, showing that yes, this site still can accommodate that square footage that was previously reviewed and approved.
Okay, so the expansion, the possible expansion area is, tell me where again?
Well, it's shown on the north and the west side. You can see where it points to future expansion line up to, you see it says future expansion line up to 4,000 square foot. But again, that's just kind of a placeholder, and so any actual future expansion would need to come back through this board with a revised final development plan showing the exact specifics of where that expansion might take place. It's really just kind of holding the square footage on this lot.
Sure, I understand. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Nademan.
Just wanted to ask, on an average lunch hour, how many parking spots do they anticipate using if most people tend to dine in? I mean, at any one time, not total.
Taylor, can you confirm how many parking slots we have? Is it 28?
So this would add 8 total, but there is a shared parking agreement throughout the development, so they have access to that, all of the parking spaces located on the west side.
I just didn't know, anticipating, you know, as they work out their financials for the restaurant, what they expect to have at any one time on a lunch hour, people-wise.
It ebbs and flows. I don't have that data.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. This case does require a public hearing. With that, I will open up the public hearing. If anyone wishes to come forward and speak on case 1110-25, please come forward.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block.
seeing none, I move for closure of the public hearing.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Franze. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public hearing is closed. Before we go on to discussion, I did have one additional question for staff. Because we are giving out a special use permit, and it's a 20-year special use permit for the drive-through, if the applicant changes their intention from having a pickup window for online orders, is there anything, and once you get the special use permit, it's for a drive-through, so they could do whatever they want, correct?
So the special use permit, if it's approved, would be for Kava for the use of a drive-through. Now, if they choose to use that drive-through, if they choose to maybe move away because their business model might change, but the special use permit is for this particular user, for Kava, to have a drive-through.
Okay.
Now, should the user change, then, say 15 years from now, Kava decides to move down the street and a new user comes in and they still want to use the drive-through, the new user would have to, under our current code, get a new special use permit.
Right.
Because hours are different, volume is different. There's a lot of considerations with a special use permit. Right. So if the special use permit's approved for Kava, whether they decide, 5 years down the road, their business model changed, they don't need it, the special use permit is still valid for them.
Okay, that opens it up to discussion. Any discussion on case 1110-25? I'd just like to make a comment about the special use permit and the drive-through. We don't usually allow drive-throughs in Leawood. We have some grandfathered, we have some, a couple Starbucks or one Starbucks that I'm aware of. This is a mixed-use development. We are trying to promote walkability, sense of community, and the drive-through is not with that. And I am concerned whether it's used for a pickup window or the use changes, that's going to affect the development and the people that live there. I mean, people do not want people driving through to get their items or to be in a queue if the use changes. So That's my concern with that. I'm fine with the restaurant. I'm fine with restaurants in that area. It's the drive-through that I have the issue with. Any other discussion? Commissioner Carlberg.
I understand what you're saying on that. I consider this drive-through to be kind of different without that box that you're talking into, because it could be somebody coming home to these apartments and driving through there before they pull in. Also, I think it's enough of a distance from the apartments that it's a bit discreet from the actual traffic there. So I think it's a cleaner, more modern view of a drive-through, and I think drive-through is not really the term, but pickup lane may be better, and I think it's a very nice concept.
I agree with the concept. It's a special use permit for a drive-through. So that can change. I mean, his concept I think is great,
Yeah, but that would have to get through another.
No.
Isn't that what Ms. Crooks? Isn't that
Not for Cava, not if it's Cava, if it was a
Not if it's
different
Cava.
user. So if Cava moved out and Chipotle moved in and wanted to have a drive-through, they would be a different user, so they'd need a new
Right.
special use permit.
Yeah, and I think that protects us on that.
Okay. Any other discussion on this case? Commissioner, yes.
To address that, the concern that you raised, is it possible to add a stipulation to the special use permit that it will always be used as a pickup window as opposed to a traditional drive-through where the customers order and then pick up?
I'll look to legal on that one.
Actually, if I could weigh in.
Okay, Ms. Crooks.
So right now, the final development plan actually shows no menu board, shows no separate squawk box. So if they're wanting to make any changes to the plan, to the building, to want to add any separate kind of structure for a menu board, for a squawk box, they actually have to come back for a revised final development plan to the Planning Commission and to the governing body. And we can at that time take a look and does that kind of maybe change the factor of their special use permit as well at that time. And we can have that conversation. But the plan tonight doesn't have a menu, doesn't have a menu board, illuminated menu board. There is no squawk box as part of this plan. So any exterior changes would require a revised final development plan. So I just kind of wanted to make sure I stated that to assuage any concerns about, just coming in and popping on something. That would be an exterior change. That would cause us to put on the brakes and ask the applicant, let's have a conversation and see what we need to do.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd probably add too, having been at Cava's, it is a more upscale type of a facility and customer that I think fits with the area right around there.
Don't disagree. Any other discussion? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Block.
I move for approval of case 11025, Leawood Village, Cava, request for approval of revised preliminary development plan, revised final development plan, and special use permit.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Belzer. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor of approving case 110-25, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, nay. Case 11025 is approved unanimously. Thank you all. Good luck with it. Commission now calls case 111-25, Country Club of Leawood, pool renovation, request for approval of a revised final development plan located south of Overbrook Road and west of State Line Road. Ms. Newer, this is yours. All right, please
Yes,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair, thank you. This is Country Club of Leawood, pool complex renovation, revised final development plan. This will be on 4.29 acres, and the applicant is requesting approval of a revised final development plan to renovate the existing Leawood Country Club pool complex to include the construction of new shade structures, outdoor bar enclosure, fencing, flooring, and golf cart parking. The surrounding zoning around the Leawood Golf Course is all R1, single-family, low density. Changes to existing conditions for this site and what is within the scope of this project Overall, the building footprint would not increase with the proposed improvements. An interior portion of the building is proposed to be demolished, however, to open up the reception area and welcome area at the entrance. Exterior finishes are proposed as part of the improvements as seen on the material board. Let's see, 3 golf cart parking stalls will be installed on the west side of the new bar area with a walk-up to a window. And the bar area is partially enclosed. I want to make that a specification because in the staff report it says it's enclosed. That's not quite accurate. It is partially enclosed on 2 sides, so it is still open to the air and not completely enclosed, just to make sure that you're aware of that. There's also new shade structures that will be installed where pergolas exist now. New concrete and pool area decking are proposed. New landscaping and light fixtures are also proposed here. The landscaping will be on the west side near the entrance and on the south side. I cannot see this. Okay. Concrete will increase impervious area within the disturbed area from 1,351 square feet to 3,119 square feet. We did pass this through Public Works, and they were unconcerned with the increase in impervious surface. All proposed materials for the structures on site are complementary in color and material, and we have the material board here in front of the desk. And new fencing, decking, shade structures, and powder-coated metal railings are proposed. New shrubs and trees, perennials, and ground cover are a variety of the landscaping. Trees will be replaced on a 1-to-1 ratio or moved if they're going to be in the disturbed area during construction. 1 tree will be moved from the north side that is existing currently to the south side. That's where that came in. Cedar mulch is proposed, turf grass is also proposed, and staff does recommend approval of this project with stipulations 1 through 16. I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Neeler. Questions for staff? Commissioner Block.
Ms. Neeler, on page 2, in the staff recommendations, 1, there's a reference to Hallbrook Country Club.
Which page is that?
Page 2, top, first stipulation.
Okay, we'll change that before it goes to
recommendation, I
governing body.
guess I should say. And then the other is, it was kind of used interchangeably, Leawood Country Club and Country Club of Leawood.
Okay.
I don't know if that matters, but I would think that that would need to be the same, please.
Make sure I change that.
I assume it has to be Country Club of Leawood.
Yes.
Yes, it's CCL.
I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, I'd invite the applicant to come forward. Thank you for staying with us for the whole night. I'm sure it was very interesting for you to hear everything.
It was very interesting. Kara Bouillet was 621. We're the architect for the project. Address is 1901 Main Street, Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm joined by Marty Sullivan, who is the general manager of the Country Club of Leawood, as well as Steve Feltmeyer, who is part of the ownership group. And then we have BHC, who is our civil engineer and landscape architect online, I believe, if they're still online.
What was their name again?
BHC.
Okay. Would that be Angela?
Yep.
Okay. She's still
She's the
on.
landscape architect, yep.
If she hasn't fallen asleep.
She's
yet.
She's awake. For those who are not as familiar with the Country Club of Leawood, they've been in operation since 1968. And just a little tidbit, over 50% of their membership are residents of the city of Leawood. So the club has the opportunity this next summer of 2026, to host the regional swim champs. And if anybody's in that world, it's a big deal if you've had kids that have gone through that process. So the club is taking that opportunity to enhance and improve their pool area. This has been done multiple times over the existence, as we've found out with staff when we had our initial meeting with them as we were looking back through some historic records. So those changes include finish updates, as staff has stated, a better patron and staff experience for the entire pool area. It also includes bringing the fence, the perimeter fence, up to current codes, and really just enhancing the property both for the patrons of Country Club of Leawood as well as the visitors who will be joining them this summer. So happy to answer any questions. I did have one note on the staff report in addition to the Hallbrook note. There was reference to signage, that there is no new signage. We do have existing signage that's being relocated. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear, that there will be signage in new locations, but it's moving from its current locations. And I think those are shown on the elevations.
Ms. Cricks, did you want to say something?
So I believe if there is signage that is being moved, we'll need a sign permit separate from this approval of these plans in order to get that reviewed.
Okay. If it's new signage versus existing signage?
It's being moved from where it was previously approved, so we'll need a new sign permit for that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is the first staff has heard about a sign being relocated. Can you please point out where this is at?
Yeah, the note is on the elevations. So A202, it's actually calling it out as new pool signage, but it's existing signage that's currently there. But regardless, we would show the signage to you. So it's on elevation 1, which is called out as detail 2.
Did you say on A202?
Correct.
And which elevation are we looking at?
Down at the bottom, elevation 1, which is detail 2, the very bottom. There's 2 notes. One calls out new pool signage, one calls out existing pool signage.
That would require a separate permit for that.
Okay.
Because we would need signage details. So.
Okay.
Additional questions for the applicant? Commissioner Block.
You said it was in operation since 1968 or whatever. Was it ever called Leawood South Country Club? Am I not remembering that right, or is it?
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
Recently.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's only been a few years that
Yeah,
it changed.
recently being, like, since I
I
moved
just
here,
didn't know.
so
If
20
I
years.
didn't know if I was
25 years.
referring to the neighborhood, not the country club. Okay, that's all. Just curious. Thank you.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's more recent than that.
Well, it's been since I moved here, so that's. Yeah. Additional questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Commissioner Block.
Mr. Chair, seeing that it's just before 9, I move for a continuation for 30 minutes of the regular session.
Thank you, Commissioner Block. Second, Commissioner Carlberg. Any all in favor of extending our meeting for additional 30 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are extended till 9:30. With that, this case, any discussion on case 111-25? Commissioner Block.
Just a quick question. Ms. Kirks, you said that they require a sign permit. Will that slow down our effort? Are we okay to proceed without that?
You can proceed without that. We can circle back with the applicant to have further conversation.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Block.
I move for approval of case 11125, Country Club of Leawood Pool Renovation Request for Approval of Revised Final Development Plan located south of Overbrook Road and west of State Line Road.
Second, Commissioner Belzer.
Can
Any
I
discussion?
jump in for a second and
With the
clarify
16
something
stipulations.
with the change to the name in the stipulations?
Oh, yeah, with the change, with the stipulations and with, as amended, with the removal of Hallbrook and change the name throughout.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Knight. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor of approving case 111-25, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Case 11125 is unanimously approved. Thank you all for your patience in remaining through our meeting tonight. You're welcome to stay for the additional 30 minutes, but you're not required. All right, that brings us up to case 95-25, Leawood Development Ordinance Amendments to Section 16-2-7, Table of Uses, Section 16-4-3.7, Special Uses Designated, Section 16-4-5.4, Required Parking Ratios, and Article 9, Definitions. Request for approval of amendments to the Leawood Development Ordinance pertaining to luxury personal vehicle storage facilities. Ms. Hurley, Ms. Cricks, who wants that one?
That would be me.
Oh, sorry, you lost the coin flip. Okay.
Michelle drew the short straw on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Michelle Cricks, Leawood Planning Department. This is case 9425, a proposal to amend the Leawood Development Ordinance, sections 16-2-7, which is the table of uses, 16-4-3.7, special uses designated, 16-4-5.4, which is parking ratios, and Article 9, a definition. And this is all pertaining to luxury personal vehicle storage, a new proposed use within the city of Leawood. This is an item that the Planning Commission now has had 3 work sessions on. We've discussed this back in February of this year at a work session when we kind of dipped our toe into the pool to kind of get a temperature of what the Planning Commission kind of thought of this type of use. And then back in July, we brought forward some possible language, and then just earlier this month, we brought some more tightened language of this amendment to the ordinance. So the first amendment that staff is proposing is to permit a luxury personal vehicle storage facility within the BP district or the planned business park district only, with the approval of a special use permit by the governing body. And it is within all the minutes that are attached to your packet, but we did talk about that. I just want to reiterate, within the Leawood Development Ordinance, uses from RP2 up to SDCR, any uses allowed in those zoning districts are also allowed in our mixed use development district and our MXD4 district. BP is excluded. So this restricting this use only to the business park district would really only kind of keep it within 2 areas within the city of Leawood. The 103rd and State Line, that old industrial district just south of 103rd Street along 104th, that is zoned mixed use. And then of course our bi-state Centennial Park, we kind of flip-flop between the 2 names at 143rd and Kenneth Road. That is also zoned BP. So those are really the only 2 areas within the city of Leawood that are currently zoned the BP district where this use would be allowed should this amendment be approved. The second section staff is recommending an amendment to is under our special uses designated. Because we are proposing this use to be as a special use permit, we thought we'd just kind of maybe throw in some kind of highlights in there that any potential users need to be aware of. So these are things that we've talked about in our work session. This is kind of what we've honed in on that staff recommends. That one, that these storage facilities cannot be used for any human occupancy or any living quarters. Residential units are not allowed in the business park district anyway, but since these storage facilities for vehicles tend to be kind of condoed out, it just kind of pinpoints that these are not to be used for any kind of living quarters that would be that would fall under our definition of what a living quarter would be. All vehicles would be required to be stored completely within doors, so no outdoor storage would be allowed. No commercial sales or repair. No commercial distribution of stored goods is permitted. Now, if somebody who is storing a vehicle within one of the units and they want to do personal repair work on their vehicle, that would be allowed. What distinguishes this is the commercial sales and commercial repair service. So it prevents somebody from purchasing one of these and opening a garage repair business within the business park. And then finally, that the facility shall be secured with a controlled access system. The next section we propose an amendment to is under required parking ratios. A lot of the research I did, these types of facilities don't require a lot of parking. Currently, our business park district actually doesn't have any parking requirements. So we were trying to kind of find a way to allow some spillover parking, maybe somebody who has maybe a few friends that want to come over and they are looking at the vehicles in their garage or whatever, that we do provide a few parking spaces. So we were kind of hitting on maybe 1 per 10,000 square feet of building area on the site. We're thinking that could be anywhere from 10 to 15 extra parking spaces overall to be distributed around, and it keeps us from having a significant amount of parking that wouldn't be really utilized. And then finally, staff is proposing a new definition for a luxury personal vehicle storage facility to read a building or group of buildings divided into separate climate-controlled self-contained units intended for the storage and display of like high-end vehicles, but that could also be boat storage, that could be also RV storage. That depends on how many storage units somebody wants to purchase, whether they're side to side, front to back, however they want to cobble individual units together to meet their needs. Anyway, this is the amendment that staff is proposing, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Cricks. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Block.
Just a couple small things. So on the first page, I don't know that this is very important, but under the table of uses that you have listed on the first page, it says luxury car, and I think that we kind of got away from the car, and it should be personal vehicles. This is on the first page, about halfway down, where it says case 94. I think I would change that.
I'll make a note to change that for the governing body.
And then the other is, I don't know, I mean, I know you kind of referenced living quarters as being maybe a defined term somewhere in the LDO or the city code, but human occupancy, I guess I question if that goes too far. And I guess I think, a building gets an occupancy permit to let people come into it. I mean, are we being so restrictive that this is not allowing people in the building by saying human occupancy? I just don't know if it's necessary, I guess is what I'm...
Okay. Well, the intent is to prevent somebody from creating this to be not only their vehicle storage, but also an apartment.
Yeah, I get that, I guess I just don't know that living quarters might not satisfy that. I just didn't know if human occupancy maybe just is not necessary, I guess was my point. And I don't know if that's shared, but if it's a defined term, if you think it needs to be there, I was afraid it just went a little bit too far maybe. And living quarters satisfies what you're trying to accomplish. And then finally, under Article 9 definitions, and I know we, talked about this a lot over those 3 sessions, but, and then it says high-end vehicles at the very end there. And I think we talked about it. They might not be high-end, so I think maybe I just change that to personal. They might necessarily, it's all in the eye of the beholder, maybe. That's all I have. So overall, I think it was, I'm sorry, I did have one more. We did talk about hazardous materials. Did you end up just that not being a necessary thing to include?
That is correct. I'm having some conversations with both the fire marshal and with our legal department. I mean, when it comes to the storage of hazardous materials, whether it's household hazardous materials or something a little bit more, or it's fuels, they have to follow the fire code. And so it's already designated. There's a section in the fire code on the management and containment of hazardous materials. And just having that conversation with our fire marshal and having a conversation with our legal department. And I mean, it has to be followed, whether we put it here, whether we stipulate it, even if we don't put it anywhere at all, they are required to follow the fire code. And they are subject to fire inspections, and they go through, code review. They go through, with our fire review. So it kind of almost becomes redundant to put that in there. We did have that conversation internally, and ultimately we just decided that regardless of what the fire code says, if they amend the fire code, they still have to follow the fire code regardless of what's in our ordinance.
Yeah, I appreciate it and I agree. Thanks. I just want to be sure.
Commissioner Carlberg.
Just to follow up on that, on a fire inspection on a place like this, do they come in and do the whole place? Or is that as somebody rents a place, or can they just do surprise inspections on individual units?
I'm honestly not sure. Unfortunately, our fire marshal was not available tonight. Yeah. She's at a conference, and so she was not able to be at our session tonight. But that is definitely something. Your question is part of the record. We can have that answer ready for governing body. So when Julie goes to governing body, she'll be able to answer that question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? I'd just like to tap on to Commissioner Block about the luxury. I don't know how you would define that. It's.
I am more than we can take out the high end and just display of vehicles, and we can take that high end moniker out or that tag, and then just keep it to say the storage and display of vehicles, and just kind of call it that. We can do that and just take that amendment, your recommended amended definition, to the governing body.
Yeah, because I think my 2010 Honda Accord is a luxury vehicle. It's got a 6 CD changer in there. Ooh. And my wife calls it a piece of junk. So I'd be holding.
You should come visit.
Chairman.
Take you for a ride.
Chairman Coleman.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I add to Commissioner Block's comments on J1? I tend to agree with you. I would recommend that you would strike for human occupancy, that J1, the first condition, because human occupancy is not really defined. We mean living quarters, and that is defined, so I think you're fine by just having living quarters.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Any discussion? Oh, no, I'm sorry, we have a public hearing. Let me open up the public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this case, please come forward. Okay.
I move for closing the public hearing.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Franze with the second. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public hearing is closed. Brings us up to discussion. Any discussion on this case 9425?
Mr. Chair. I think we've had a lot of discussion on this and some very good work sessions that have been really productive. I think this is a good outcome.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Block.
I move for approval of case 9425, Leawood Development Ordinance Amendments to sections 16-2-7, Table of Uses, section 16-4-3.7, Special Uses Designated Section 16-4-5.4, Required Parking Ratios, and Article 9 Definitions.
Second.
Can I ask you to clarify your motion? Is that with the changes that we discussed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Still second.
That covers everything, right? Yes. I need another second from you.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner McGurran. All in favor of approving case 9425, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Case 9425 is unanimously approved. You know, we still have 20 minutes here, so let's keep going. Ms. Ewing, can you please stand, please? Just like to recognize Ms. Cameron Ewing to her promotion to Planner 2. You know, I don't know what you're going to do with that $100,000 pay raise, the private car, or the personal bathroom that you have a key for. So,
She can have a
Windows
luxury.
are big.
Now she can have a luxury vehicle.
She could
car.
store it.
You can store it.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things. I did have a question. We had an email from legal in regards to the Transportation Development District in each village, TDD, which I've never heard of before. Would anyone like to comment to tell us what a Transportation Development District is? Or not? We can bring it up another
What
time.
email are you referencing?
What you were
Yours.
yours.
Oh, there was just an open record request on.
No. I understand why you were asking the question. What is a TDD, Transportation Development District?
It's a financial incentive. I don't know that much about incentive packages, but there's CID.
It's a special taxing district.
It's
Mr.
like a
Cushman.
CID.
Okay.
And it's just a separate type of CID.
Is your mic
where
on?
they put an additional sales tax on the sales in the district, and they use the proceeds for enhancements of transportation, street access, medians, turn lanes, that sort of thing.
Okay. And that's usually asked beforehand?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The city has an entire incentive and economic development policy, and a TDD is one of the tools that's covered in that policy. The timing of a request for any incentive is not specified or laid out, and developers ask for those at different points throughout a development process. I'm not an expert on incentives by any means, and I don't know all the specifics of a TDD. I think Commissioner Fishman kind of laid out the basics of it. But yeah, that is something that I believe the developer of East Village has approached the city about. And any incentive requests and discussions are conducted through the city administrator's office and then go through the governing body. And any that would have a statutory requirement for planning commission review like we did tonight with the TIF district would then come before this board. But no, they're not typically a part of a planning or zoning process.
Okay, thank you.
And can I add, the city has policies on all of these financial incentives. I believe, I could be wrong, again, it's not my area expertise. I know under Scott Lambers, historically they were not able or encouraged to apply until the project was approved. And so I hear a lot of questions and discussions about why isn't this coming up at the beginning? And it's because the city historically has not allowed it.
Okay.
Those may have changed, and that's why we're seeing them now. Like I said, I'm not the one that reviewed the policies, but I think previously you were unable to. So that should not be a factor. And again, the Planning Commission isn't here to decide whether to grant those incentives. So unless there's a statutory requirement that I come to you, it is the city council's purview on those.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no, you're not. We're not leaving yet. Because there's going to be 3 opportunities for us to get together next month in a more casual setting. We have the Planning and Design Charrette, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, sessions, Monday, November 10th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Tuesday, November 11th from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., and a public open house later that evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I know that we cannot get in any trouble between the afternoon session and the evening session, so I assume you want us there for all 3?
Yep, if you're able. So yeah, just enough time for dinner between those 2 sessions. But we would certainly encourage everybody who is free that night to come back for the open house, since that's what we are inviting the public to. So we would love to have as many planning commissioners and governing body members there as possible, just to kind of mingle and chat with folks as people come in and see what the consultant has been working on and what we've all been working on thus far. And so that is the night we would typically have a work session. We will not be having a work session that night, so that you all and we as staff can be there at the open house.
Just to clarify, are we supposed to be at both of those, the Monday and the Tuesday session, and then the Tuesday night?
Yes,
All
that would be
three.
the goal. And again, we understand if you can't, everyone's busy and work and personal schedules conflict. But yes, if you're able, the goal would be to have you at all three of those different times.
So with that, our next regular meeting is on Tuesday, November 25th, which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yes, and just to kind of let you all know, for next year, we are gonna switch the calendar around a little bit so that our November Planning Commission meeting is the week before Thanksgiving, just so that doesn't conflict with everybody's schedules. I know I'm always out of town the week of Thanksgiving, so I'll be attending that meeting virtually. I know a lot of people are out of town that week, so we are taking that into account next year with the calendar. But yes, this year it is on the Tuesday right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's traditionally been the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So. All right. Commissioner McGurn.
Is there any news about our December gathering? Doesn't appear there is.
It has been booked. It is the 8th or the 9th. It is the
second Tuesday.
Yes, the second
So that's
Tuesday.
great. That's our work session.
Great.
Yeah, it'd be the work session night. So I will make sure we get an email to you all tomorrow, just so everybody has it on their calendar. But yes, it is that work session evening.
Okay. So also no more work sessions this year. So. Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for your patience tonight and hanging in there.
Second Tuesday of December? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
It should be.